World Environment Day, June 5th. United Nations says no plastics. As a nation, India has many other problems. We thrive on coal. Dr. Amardeep Singh Chaudhary has also joined us, a very critical organization's CEO, National Land Monetization Corporation. Something which the nation needs to learn about, dignitaries need to learn about, and cascade it to the decision makers across the country. Kishore Roongta, former CMD, Fertilizers Corporation of India, somebody who's been driving the fertilizer spree in the country because the inculcation of fertilizers and pesticides inextricably linked to the agricultural output of the country and the land topography. The quality texture of the soil depends on the fertilizers used. Wasting no further time, opening remarks, Dr. Alexander Thomas. He is somebody who has driven 12,000 hospitals in this country. Hospitals and insurance have had a tug of war. India has seen a lot of initiatives under the new government since 2014, under the Pradhan Mantri, the Ayushman Bharat Yojana, PMJAY, Jan Ayush Yojana of the Pradhan Mantri, which was designed to cover, insurance and safety for most of the citizens of this country. But Dr. Thomas knows how difficult it has been to drive it across the nation and the hospitals because of the cost, kind of tug of war between the hospitals and the insurance chains. India is heavily underinsured. Sustainability, health, growth story, everything is inextricably linked. Dr. Alexander Thomas, opening remarks to you. World Environment Day. Khairunisa has also joined. She is a driver of Kashmir's, initiatives towards progress. She is somebody who also has worked with the WTC, World Trade Council, and she also runs a lot of industries in the important state of Jammu and Kashmir, which basically represents India's image in the global scenario. Over to you, Dr. Alexander Thomas.
Thank you, Amit, for inviting me, and warm wishes to all the panelists. I'll start on this World Environment Day 2025. Let me start with a quote by Tolstoy. I'm sure all of you have heard it, that one of the first conditions of happiness is that the link between man and nature shall not be broken. This is a powerful quote, a timeless reminder that our well-being is deeply intertwined with the health of the planet. And yet today, if you look at it, that vital link between humans and nature is fraying at an alarming pace. So let me just a brief introduction. As Amit said, I founded one of the founders of the Association of Healthcare Providers, the founder of CAHO, founder of Anbai. These are all health organizations. Most recently, I have also become chair of the Health Environment Leadership Platform. This is a unit of Public Health Foundation of India and Healthcare Without Harm, and basically deals with health and climate change. So coming back to the subject, the signs of this link between nature and man, the signs are actually unmistakable. Rising temperatures, erratic weather, polluted air, depleting resources, and a sharp increase. There's been a tremendous increase in climate-related diseases. Climate change is no longer a distant environmental issue. Looking at India itself, in the past few years, India has been ravaged by climate disasters. In 2019, we have heard about the heat waves, and even last year, sparse rainfall in many areas, extreme rainfall in others. In Bangalore, about 2 weeks ago, we got about 1 year of rainfall in one day, with its consequent results. Floods in many states. In spite of the floods, 30% of the country's area is faced with drought. So it's an irony, and I think we need to tackle it soon. These are nature's warning signals. And I think all of us will agree that this is now the greatest health threat of the 21st century. So I limit myself to health and climate change because that in itself is a large area. And I think that the paradox is that the healthcare sector, which I am representing, we are tasked with protecting and promoting human health. We contribute very significantly to this crisis. If health were a country, then healthcare would be the fifth largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world. This includes everything from energy-intensive hospitals, use of surgical use plastics, pharmaceuticals, emissions from transportation, waste and water. So one of the things that we did, from PHFI, Public Health Foundation, and from the Association of Healthcare Providers, uh, we actually bought out the book, the first book on climate change and health. And this is the book. It's available as a free download. It's called Healing the World, written by many eminent authors. This was actually ready a few years ago, but in the last couple of years, it's actually been a bestseller. So basically, what happens here is that the book positions the health sector as a leader in climate action, not just as a victim of climate impacts, but also trying to lead the efforts against it, and as an agent of transformation. And we try and answer the fundamental question: how can we make our health systems climate smart and climate resilient? So very briefly, I'll go through 5 points. Understanding the impact. So this book, the first section of the book, connects climate change to health outcomes. Increased respiratory illnesses due to air pollution, malnutrition, and food security. I heard Amit saying that there's a agriculture soil expert here. All these are related: malnutrition, food security due to disrupted food systems, a rise in vector and zoonotic diseases, and much greater health inequities affecting especially the women, the elderly, and other vulnerable populations. So climate change manifests existing public health burdens and actually faces an enormous strain on our already stretched healthcare system. I think all of you are aware that our healthcare system is actually not as it should be. We are trying to do as much as we can, but we're a long way to go. Coming to the role of the health, we are actually hoping to do is that the health sector leads by example. One is we reduce our own carbon footprint. We built climate resilient infrastructure that can withstand extreme events. Because when there's a natural disaster, if and with a lot of health related issues, if a hospital or a healthcare institution is not able to be resilient, then the whole purpose is lost. So we try and an important aspect of what we do is to build climate resilient infrastructure that can withstand extreme events. Another important part of what we do is through our policy advocacy is to try and incorporate climate education into medical and nursing curriculum. Actually, a few years ago, we were able to start a health communication movement in the country, and we were able to introduce that into the curriculum. So the central government has actually set up a committee, going very slow. We've been there for 4 years. The nurses have already introduced this in their curriculum, but the others, we have a long way to go. But I think that will be very important to include climate education into the medical and nursing curriculum. And this book that I edited was basically meant to be a companion guide for medical students, but now it's used by many other people. So I think what we are trying to do is shift from becoming part of the problem to becoming part of the solution. And this begins by actually transforming how we actually operate and run our hospitals.
Okay.
Now coming to how,
Dr. Thomas, these are just opening remarks. I've got a lot of guests and people will keep joining from time to time. And there will be a lot of interactions also. But before you need to leave, as you know, and you've been with us for so many years now, just let me know so that I can, immediately bring you on for your detailed discourse. Because we need to talk to you about antibiotics. We need to talk to you about immunologies. We need to talk to you about the kind of infrastructural developments in the hospital chains in India and the kind of impact it has at the rural level, especially because what we see is development across in the urban areas, but in the rural sector still, how prepared are we to face another COVID, etc. Now I immediately bring on board Lieutenant General Kaun Himalaya Singh, the first Lieutenant General of Northeast. He is somebody who knows Northeastern states, the 8 states, by the back of his hand. We've also been joined by Arun Sinha, former Additional Secretary Government of India. He was Secretary Labor. He was Secretary Department of Public Enterprises. Amardeep ji, I had spoken to you about Arun Sinha ji yesterday. He is the man who drove the MOUs 10 years back in the DPE. Now, Lieutenant General Kaun Himalaya Singh, development vis-a-vis the environment and sustainability issues in Northeast. somehow similar to the Jammu and Kashmir issues, but there are startling differences between what Northeast faces as challenges and opportunities, and vis-a-vis the kind of development initiatives, especially in the states like Assam, Mizoram, Nagaland, Manipur, Tripura, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, and Mizoram. They have all been going through a lot of development phase, but except for Mizoram and Sikkim, most of the states have had their own problems, and development has really impacted it negatively. Lieutenant General Kausal Singh, water bodies, forest and fauna, the wildlife of Northeast, urban infrastructure, the border roads. Throw some light upon these things in your opening remarks. Detailed discourse later.
Okay. Thank you very much. At the outset, I would like to thank you for having me here. The news, national news today is generally filled with flood situation in Northeast India, entire Northeast India today, starting with Assam, Manipur, and other parts of the Northeastern region. There are so many learned people here. It's a environmental crisis, as I see in the Northeast India and others, is a huge national security problem. It's not just about environmental factors. It's a question of existential crisis that kind of a stage, according to me, because I'm no expert on environment, but I've seen the nook and corner of the entire country and abroad. So we have to take it in a war footing. I'll just give you one example. In Manipur, there were 54 wetlands when I was 10-year-old. 54. Today, there are 4 or 5. Everything has vanished. Where those people who were mandated to protect them, actually, they are the encroachers. Actually, they are the ones part of the problem. I think it's a much more than just about environment. It's a crisis of character, crisis of lack of administration and all. So in the Himalayas, you look at Himalayas, the rivers, then the wetlands and whatever, it's in a mess right now. I mean, when I say mess, I have reason to believe that we are in for a very big kind of a blow as far as the environmental hazards are concerned in the Northeast. I can tell you. People talk about the pollution-free environment and all that, so we'll discuss later. But I'm afraid this has to be taken up in a war footing. That's all as far as my initial remarks are concerned.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Vimal Vakluji, the former CMD TCIL, he understands the concept of sustainability and the various issues around the telecom and electronic sector. Electronic waste has been posing a huge hazard to the nation, and with the passing days and months, the kind of consumption around the electronics issues is interrupted. Vakluji, without wasting further time, over to you, opening remarks.
Yeah, thank you, Amit, for having me on the show. Before I start, I would also like to thank CARE for joining this event at such a short notice. I really appreciate that. And she has taken a big responsibility from my side because I was going to talk about Kashmir, and she is the best person to talk about it right now, the environmental challenges there.
Thank you.
So I'll focus on something else in the meantime. We have problems due to this, all these environmental issues. It's a problem not only of a particular segment. Practically every aspect of our lives, we are going wrong somewhere. I mean, it was a pleasure listening to Dr. Alexander, and I'm sure the initiatives which he has taken, I also want to have one-to-one talk with him later on how in the health sector, which I have been closely related to, what more can be done to ensure sustainability. We have challenges with food and agriculture, increased economic activities, disaster management, ever-increasing energy demands, and unfettered industrialization, and lots of biodiversity. All these are contributing to the challenges we are faced with. But, I am basically a technology evangelist. I have been talking about how technology can help in mitigating all these challenges. But the problem is that when a technology comes into the marketplace, it's taken as gospel truth that this will solve all the problems. That is where the challenge begins. Like, you must have heard people talk about onions being good for health, and they'll solve all the problems of human health with onions only. This is what happens when we talk about blockchain. They'll say that we'll introduce blockchain everywhere, whether it's needed or not. And in turn, they create, carbon footprints. So we have to have a, nimble-footed approach, and we have to be very careful while even introducing technologies. So these are my initial remarks, and I'll elaborate further on how much challenge is posed with the technologies themselves, despite solving many problems. Thank you.
Yes, there are many issues that we need to talk about. Technology development and the kind of impact it has in terms of the collateral damages it causes. For example, the towers, the construction of towers, the radiations, the waves, etc. We'll talk about all of those things as we move along. Dr. General V.K. Singh, former minister and the former chief of army, and now currently the governor of Mizoram, should be joining us at around 12:30 p.m. Amardeep Singh Chaudhary ji, he is somebody who holds charge of NLMC. Government buildings, infrastructure lying unutilized is an area of concern for most people who have an eye for detail. And when you move around in the cities, urban cities especially, you see a lot of infrastructure unutilized. That has a direct impact on the sustainability of the nation. Chaudhary ji, over to you. Talk to us about NLMC in brief, and also about how impactful the role of NLMC would be going forward to kind of mitigate the risks posed by unutilized infrastructure of the public sector, as far as sustainability is concerned. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Amitji, and good morning to all whosoever present there in this meeting. Just last week, I have given the charge of National Land Monetization Corporation as a CEO of this organization. And NLMC is basically 100% government of India owned CPSE under the administrative control of Department of Public Enterprises, Ministry of Finance. NLMC has been set up with the objective of driving the monetization process of non-core assets of CPSEs and other government agencies in an efficient, transparent, and professional manner, ensuring maximum value realization. So far, we have been referred to so many assets of MTNL, BSNL for monetization, which is under process, because due diligence is to be taken place before accepting the assets. It should be freehold, it should be encroachment free. So there are some problems in the in that way, which are not still freehold or encroachment free. So they are doing their best efforts. Then the assets will be referred to DP first. DP is basically make a due diligence. Thereafter, these assets, if encroachment free and 100% government of India, and if it should be more than 100 crore, then we will refer these assets to NLMC for monetization. I am also holding the charge of Department of Public Enterprises as a principal advisor. I see the closure and disinvestment part also. This new public sector enterprises came into existence on 4th of February 2021, in which mandate was given to DIPAM and DP. DIPAM was given the charge of strategic assets, and to our DP as a non-strategic sectors. So far, no asset has been approved by government foreclosure or disinvestment. So whatever we are pursuing is before this new public sector enterprises policy. In brief, I will cover only about the sustainability in saving the environment, as well as there is a role of corporate social responsibility, because Department of Public Enterprises also give themes to CPSEs for corporate social responsibility. There is a mandate under Companies Act 2013. I will try to cover that also. Nutrition is the theme for 2025. And what is the role of CSR in protecting the environment? What the companies or CPSEs are doing, as per the mandate of government, that I will try to cover. Thank you very much.
Excellent. You've really made it very easy for us. Khairul-Nisa Sheikh has joined us at a very short notice. She is a seasoned professional who's seen global developments in terms of having handled portfolios at the World Trade Center. Yesterday only I was speaking to her father, who is a hotelier in Kashmir, Gulmarg. Kashmir has been in the news for all the wrong reasons recently, especially after the 3-4 years of development and peace. But Khairul-Nisa, Kashmir, its development, prosperity, a balanced growth approach in terms of taking together the awam, the populace, along with the development initiatives of the government, central government, is inextricably linked to the image of the nation as far as the global diaspora is concerned, the global audience is concerned. Pahalgam is an incident which there is no need to talk about as far as I am concerned and this day is concerned. But the impact is that it has had on the development initiatives, tourism, etc. Obviously, we are no strangers to that. People have been telling me that the apple orchards, when the Udhampur-Baramulla train line, the Vande Bharat thing was started, 30,000 farmers were displaced. Yesterday, I spoke to somebody who knew the process of displacement, and he was very clear that the kind of money that was shelled out to the farmers by the IRCTC was almost double the land rates. We've also seen Dal Lake, almost 1/3 of it is left in the last 30 years as far as my personal experience goes. The temperatures in mid-September are almost comparable to the plains in the center of the Dal Lake because of the huge pollution, the weed growth, etc., and the land reclamations around the lake for urbanization and for commercial purposes. Can you say you know the terrain, the topography by the back of your hand? What would you like to talk to us about Kashmir? Because that is what the PMO, the entire country would like to know from the horse's mouth, coming from a lady who is the daughter of the soil, as to what Kashmir faces as a problem from environmental perspectives and how we can take these things forward and make a balanced approach towards development. Over to you, Madam Khairul-Nisa ji, the best of women.
Thank you so much. Good morning, namaste, sat sri akal, and adab. It's an honor for me to be here. Even though Wimble uncle did mention that it was on a very short notice, but this is something which is very, very close to my heart, sustainability. So being the daughter of the soil, and each time I come here, I always feel very pained. I head World Trade Center. I'm a principal advisor for the World Trade Center for Asia Pacific and have been instrumental in various initiatives of India, the government initiatives like Make in India, Smart Cities, Startup India, and Digital India. In fact, I'm instrumental in creating Uttar Pradesh as the nucleus for a global electronic city. Having said that, I want to take you to Kashmir, my Kashmir, okay? To a land that you may not have seen on postcards, but not like this. You would have seen Kashmir, but not as a paradise, but as a paradox. That's how I want to take you to Kashmir. In Kashmir today, the snow melts, not with the coming of the spring, but with the burning of time. Srinagar and Jammu, these are two cities in Jammu and Kashmir who are declared as smart cities. And I do not see, since I have been instrumental in actually initiating the smart city, I do not see anything of smart city in both of these cities. Now, Kashmir, when we look at Kashmir, we see glaciers are vanishing, rivers are drying up. Out of the 18,000 glaciers in Himalayas, 87% of these are retreating. And the rate has doubled up in 20 years. I mean, that's the cost of urbanization that we would say. These glaciers are not just rivers of ice. These are a source of water or water towers to billions of people. And in Kashmir, they're turning into ticking time bombs. Like we've seen floods happening, we've seen landslides happening, we're seeing displacements. In the last 5 years, we have lost 2,000 springs, which had been a lifeblood of our villages. And we are an agrarian land. I mean, we may say that Kashmir has tourism, but the contribution of tourism in the GDP is very, very minimal as compared to our horticulture and agriculture. So, what I'm telling you is not a science fiction. This is my home. And I do not come to you as a politician, but as a businesswoman, as a daughter of the soil, but as a voice from Kashmir, a region which has been suspended between sublime and the catastrophic, a place where climate collapses and we are living in a nuclear peril, which is not an abstract concern, but a daily reality with us now. The Jammu and Kashmir is a land which has been caught between paradise and an apocalypse. We are a civilization, actually a 5,000-year-old civilization, which is on the brink. And Jammu and Kashmir, often called the paradise on earth, is becoming the world's climate nuclear ground zero. I may give you these words, but these are not just jargons. These are realities of Kashmir. The recent events such as Operation Sindoor remind us starkly that Kashmir remains perilously in the middle of a nuclear tension. And if we do not act now, we are going to become the world's first climate conflict graveyard. So imagine 1,000 standing of a mountain ridge, looking at glaciers that's been there for thousands of years and knowing that it won't last for another decade. Or imagine you're watching a farmer dig into a cracked earth, searching for water, but no longer water flows there. Or knowing that a single military miscalculation could turn this entire region into a radioactive ash. That's Kashmir. We are the world's first potential climate conflict casualty. And this is what I would actually like to be talking in my main course today. And these are not jargons that I'm talking about. I don't want to leave on this World Environment Day. I do not want to speak in metaphors. We speak from an edge of extinction. Because in Kashmir, sustainability is not about balance of sheets or targets. It's about 5,000 years civilization that can survive the double assault of climate collapse and nuclear tension. So I would take it later with you and discuss the various aspects that you have talked about, because I have all the data, the policies, and what can be done, the recommendations, because I don't just come with the problems, I also come with solutions and recommendations.
Okay, we'll get you back very soon. Let me quickly bring in now, we've been joined by SP Vasudeva. SP Vasudeva is a former Additional Secretary of Home Affairs and also somebody who knows water, because he was also Additional Secretary Water Ministry. He was also the PCCF of Himachal, somebody who knows environment by the back of his hand because he was a principal conservationist of the state of Himachal. Vasudeva ji, before I bring you for the opening remarks, let me quickly bring in my friend, former Additional Secretary Government of India, Labour. He knows the issues around manpower, sustainability. He knows issues around the central public sector companies because he was also joint secretary of the public sector enterprises 10 years back. 83 batch IAS officer, Uttar Pradesh cadre. A very humble, a very lovely man, Arun Sinha. Arun ji, environment, sustainability, how would you like to link it to your work experience Because you see, when I see at Uttar Pradesh is in the news for all the good reasons, for all the developments. When I go there, I never want to go back. I mean, how would you like to take this forward?
Yeah, thank you, Amit Goenka ji, and thanks to your Vision India Forum, which has brought all the luminaries from various fields to today's Zoom meeting. Today being World Environment Day, and it's very apt that we are discussing this issue. And as previous speakers have thrown light on the things, basically this environment requires attention from the individual, all individual. It's not matter of one person, two person, or it has to be tackled by all individuals and institutions. And here I saw many people who are connected with various institutions, and they have played active role in sustainability, in improving the environment. And I've been also associated with the Labor Ministry and Department of Public Enterprises. I see my senior colleague here as Principal Economic Advisor, and that takes me to the 2010 when I was also there, and we had friends there. And I'm happy to know about NLMC and other developments which has been taken up by the Department of Public Enterprises. Now, since it is opening remarks, so I would like to elaborate on the role of labor, how they can be involved, or what are challenges before them. And basically, one is the green job. That as the sustainability environment has come to the fore, so a lot of green job, like we set in this platform under Vision India Forum and discussed about green energy and other things which are very relevant for sustainability, for environment improvement. And labor plays an important role in that by reskilling, giving more emphasis on that. Then the second aspect, which is very important for industry and working places, is workplace safety and environment. That requires a lot of attention, improvements, and use of technology, so that we go for sustainability. And the last point in the labor, I think, is about informal workers, which number is huge, and how we can empower them and how they can be a part of development. So I see these three issues connected with the labor. And for public enterprises, I find that CPSE, the Central Public Sector Enterprises, they play a very important role in development of the country, and they had this challenge also with them, that they have to carry forward environment improvement and sustainability. And I remember in 2010 when I was there, at that time only in MOU, like corporate social responsibility, then research and development and sustainability, they were brought as an important parameter, so that all CPSEs, they keep these important parameters in focus when they move forward. And I'm sure that they have to give a pioneer role in the country, which can be followed by the private sector and other people. And CSR itself is a good, I think, resource tool which can be used for sustainability and policy advocacy. These are things which Department of Public Enterprises is focusing and are required. So with these words, I go back to Amit ji, and later on we can discuss these points in detail. Thank you.
Arunji, all I can say is that your background, if it is an original one, which I feel it is, in Bhimtal, really makes me feel that not all is lost. We've got some greenery around us, though we stay in the urban clamors around us. But people like you, who are so resourceful, can manage to squeeze in 3 months out of your Lucknow and Delhi days into places like Bhimtal. So now quickly bringing in, I have, okay. I have Dr. General V.K. Singh joining me very soon. We will also be joined by an expert from the clean energy perspective, Professor A.G. Iyer. He's an advisor to the government, Prime Minister of Bhutan, and somebody who chairs a lot of committees in the government of India for the solar energy specifically. Before that, let me quickly bring in Shrishti Pal Vasudev, SP Vasudev, an authority on conservation wildlife. He knows the acts by the back of his hand. He knows what Wildlife Act means. He knows what Project Tiger means. He was somebody who educated me that don't get into all the magazines of all kinds. Don't get into the, but I am a person who is on the field most of the time, which people who know me also know about me, that I do not talk from magazines or from the media news. Project Cheetah, for example, has been in the news for all the wrong reasons. Kuno National Park has been in the news for all the wrong reasons. But SP Vasudeva educated me. Despite not being able to get the right man from MP at a short notice, he told me that the Project Cheetah is up and running. Vasudeva ji, you also know a lot about Project Tiger, Rhinoceros, Forest, Fauna. You talked to me one day about the sandalwood issues, the Virappan issues, in the red corridors, and how it impacted sustainability. The Naxalism, how it was all linked together, and how this gentleman, I forget his name, the IPS from Karnataka cadre, somebody who was heading that Greyhound team in the Karnataka corridor, Karnataka Tamil corridor. That gentleman had, ensured the elimination of Virappan, and etc. etc. Everything is linked. We also got to talk about things like the green finance, or the financing of the green, or the greening of finance. We've also been talking about the sustainability in terms of marketing, consumption. IPL, for example, Tata has sponsored, say, 2,500 crores for that IPL or whatever it is called. But then look at the kind of mess it creates every match. But any which ways, SP Vasudeva, over to you. माइक ऑन करिए वासुदेव जी. Vasudeva ji, former PCC of Himachal, your mic is off, sir. We've been joined by a banker finally, Narendra ji. Narendra was the former chairman of IOB, Indian Overseas Bank. He'll talk to us, if he's willing, about green financing and financing the green. Oh, you look as handsome as ever, Narendra bhai. I'm sure you have another chair to head very soon.
Chalo.
Banks have been in the good reasons, in the news for all the good reasons. And you know what I mean by good reasons. Sustainable banking. Okay, we'll talk to you. SP Vasudeva, sir, please carry on.
See, when we talk of environment has basically 5 components. It has got land, it has got flora and fauna on it, and water. Water is a very important component of environment, and they combined produce very good air. And the impact of sun makes the impact of sun on these 5 resources make what this universe work. So when we talk of environment, we have to combine all these 5 components, although at the but till we combine them together, we'll not be able to achieve sustainability. Number 1. So we have to see how to combine them together. Natural resource management, watershed management, these are some of the ways how these can be combined together. Secondly, coming to sustainability, see, sustainability has got 3 components. Social, people are involved. Environment, as I have told you, and third is economics. When these 3 when we bring about sustainabilities in sociality, in economic sustainability, and then environmental sustainability, only then we will be able to achieve what is known as sustainability. To achieve this, UN has come up with the concept of sustainable development goals. And India has also adopted and is trying to integrate all its schemes and processes into sustainable development goals. And Niti Aayog is a nodal agency for looking into sustainability and monitoring the sustainable development goals. So these, to start with, I will end here only. Sustainability, we have to combine social, economic, and environment. To achieve that, there are sustainable development goals, 17 sustainable development goals. We have to continuously monitor that. And those sustainable development goals take into account the 5 components I've told you, and the sustainability of marketing, sustainability of economic prosperity. These are all contained in those sustainable development goals. To start with, I'll end here.
Sorry, Vasudevaji, yesterday or a couple of days I was speaking to you about the least polluted cities, the list of least polluted cities, and I was also talking to somebody from the SBM, the Swachh Bharat Mission, and he educated me about the difference between clean cities and polluted cities, least polluted cities. There's a difference. Now, as far as I understand, Indore has been ranking in the top in terms of the cleanest cities of the country. But as far as the AQI is concerned, it is nowhere near it. Could you try and explain in brief the dichotomy around this particular issue? What do you achieve by cleaning a city if the air is not clean?
No, pardon. Please repeat your question.
Okay, I'll come back to you later, sir. I'll come back to you later. Let me quickly bring in Dhananjay. Are you willing to speak? Or are you just here to just observe?
Hello?
Dhananjay, would you like to speak?
Sir is not here, sir. Sir has gone down to plant the trees.
Okay. Narendra Bhai, welcome to the show. Former CMD, Indian Overseas Bank, opening remarks. Green financing and financing the green, financing the green or greening finance. There is a difference. Greening finance is about including the ESG practices in the loans that are giving out. And green financing is about climate financing generally. But all that is fine. How can we have a sustainable or a environment friendly situation? Today's day is about environment. So green financing or climate financing is something from a banker's perspective which is relevant for you to speak about. Probably I'll leave you with that as far as the opening remarks is concerned. We'll discuss about the issues around banking and how they have been negatively impacting sustainability and growth in the nation for some other day. Green financing, over to you, Narendra Bhai. Narendra ji, former CMD, IOB.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning. Amit ji, I appreciate your initiative you take on various occasions like this, bringing the various senior IAS and other government officials on a platform to discuss very, very relevant subject. And your commitment and carrying on this vision foundation in this manner is highly appreciated. So today, of course, Environment Day and the environment aspect you must be discussing. And one of the question you asked me is climate finance. So in the world level, there is a yearly there is a meeting on regarding the progress on the Paris Agreement and the COP, that is a environment related, climate related meetings. 29 was held sometime last year, and the 30 will be held at Brazil. But the point has been the last meeting was little disappointment, because India, along with the most of the developing countries, put forward the requirement of climate finance of 2.5, but the overall commitment came is hardly $300 billion. So in a way, the developed countries are not willing to commit, or including, of course, the development finance institution have been giving, but it is not coming up to the requirement. Moreover, most of the developing countries, particularly less developed and underdeveloped countries, they are already having high debt which are contracted during COVID. Today, such climate-related major incidents are taking place in these vulnerable countries. And for the recovery and to meet the such damages and also put forward mitigation efforts, that endeavor earlier again such meeting, it was thought that they would come with the loss and damage fund bigger. It also came only up to 700 billion. Maybe that one more thing has happened in the recent days. US has distanced itself, being a major member, distanced itself from the current administration, from the climate related issues. So in that respect, of course, India has the net zero target by 2070, and towards that, our capacity on the alternative energy, particularly under the solar and recent days wind also, and maybe limited hydro as well as nuclear energy are being attempted, and there has been fairly good progress. And today, I think 50% of the power is coming under the alternative energy source. To that extent, our further green gas emissions has come down. So in the respect of this green finance, in the Indian context also, the government itself came with the green bond, and their green bond last year, this year, or earlier year also went successfully. But the only point the government found that the difference between the normal bond raising as well as the green finance has not got the enough benefit for India. In a world over, it may be say 8 basis points. We got hardly very less basis points. So in hardly 3 basis. So it is government has been thinking that by the green finance per se, the awareness on our all Indian and externally, that they should be able to support such endeavor of any government to raise the green finance or the such climate related mitigation and adaptation measures, the fund required at a reasonable price, because everybody is concerned on this climate risk, and all of us, whether it is a heat warming, last 3 years has been the highest heat warming in the globally. And again, the rain also has been erratic. Either it is excess rain or if it is a decent deficit rain, and in the cloud bursting and various such incidents, which we are also getting in Uttarakhand, or what happened in Kerala, Wayanad, all that again needs a certain big amount, and the state government, even at the Himachal, if they have not provided for that, the rain washed about more than 4,000 crores of physical assets. So physical risk as well as a transmission risk is being faced not only by the government as well as the semi-government. Today, state government, then it is also faced by the corporate. So corporate towards ESG also are taking steps either through the such mitigation efforts like alternative energy. They will have to necessarily purchase the credit, the climate credit in the carbon market. Now today, UK for our Indian exports or any other, they are asking for carbon compliant. Otherwise, there is a carbon tax mechanism, which again will make our product very much not competitive. Now our UK related trade agreement is one of the important matter is carbon credit mechanism. Can that be avoided, or how that will be made? Because most of the MSMEs will be suffering. So in the public sector bank contest, there are only a state bank or that the bank who must have gone for climate bond. But otherwise, the Reserve Bank has allowed the banks to take green deposit. In the idea is like us, suppose are we willing to, suppose the normal rate of interest on a 3-year deposit is say 6.5%. Are we willing to give deposit to the bank at the green deposit scheme at a 5.5%, so that they will lend at a lesser rate to the such alternative green project? The Reserve Bank directives, when you take this green deposit, you invest in only alternative energy or such climate mitigant projects. So which has found some traction, not up to the mark. Now other measures which Reserve Bank has issued some guidance that you should have a either base disclosure or enhanced disclosure towards what at all you are doing on the ESG. Similarly, the entire risk in your portfolio, including market risk, credit risk, operational risk, in respect of the climate, you have to assess, and let may be a future where the provision for that may come. But the final circular has not come. But RBI per se also today, earlier, no, they were not able to reduce their interest rate primarily due to the agriculture related inflation. And agriculture related inflation is mostly due to this climate related variation in the production of the agriculture, which again results in higher price for agriculture product, which will increase the inflation. So one aspect in the monetary policy also relating to climate risk, which are globally facing, Indian RBI has also found that. So in view of all this, it is high time that RBI, government, state government, and all the responsible corporates and responsible individuals like us, we have to rise up and we must contribute in our own way towards such mitigant efforts and climate resistant projects, and see that India achieves this what you call net zero. One, I think there is a paper framework for taxonomy, which are yet to find the final from the government. That also may be a methodology, so that will enable for raising domestic funds toward the green initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Narendra ji, because this Environment Day, as I told you, we will only focus around the clean aspects of financing, and you have kind of laid a platform for further discussions. Yes, I wanted to talk to you about the kind of impact this fancy word called clean and green finance has really on the economy, because of the percentage of the finance which probably we are yet to discover a lot of miles going ahead, because the ghost towns that we keep seeing mushrooming all around us, I do not know how much climate finance can really mitigate the kind of 10 lakh crores of undisclosed borrower details.
Correct.
For all these kind of loans which the public money is being shelved out for from the banks and financial institutions.
Yeah.
Let's decide the beautiful gold loan circles that we see every day, especially with celebrities endorsing those gold loans from farmers who cannot have two times meals for them. So these are issues which we will keep discussing. But anyway,
one Amit ji, one more risk is that when we take a green bond, if we don't invest in green related asset, it will be called as what you call green washing. So the public or the investors are little doubtful whether that money goes to the green asset alone. So this also we need to be avoided, for which there is
I do not know how much
impact study.
But evergreening is something which is going on pretty successfully. Evergreening of the loans. We do not know about how much green finance, but evergreening of the loans has been in the news from wonderful companies who have also been in the news for many other things. And any which ways. Now let me quickly bring in Alexander Thomas, because he told me by 12 he'll be leaving. Dr. Thomas, now detailed, over to you. Take us through environment and health.
Yeah, thank you, Amit. I think just an aside, I think one of our Vimal sir was talking about everything. So I've been listening to this. It's a little bit aside. So I also have been reading articles that if you have oranges for 2 years, all your problems are solved. So what we have done is, it may not be directly related, but we have come up with a book called Lifestyle as Medicine, again available as a free download, where Devi Shetty, Pratima Murthy, Randeep Guleria, they've all written. And there's also a section on environment there. Also wanted to tell you that we are working with ISRO with climate change and health. In fact, we're doing some very interesting projects where ISRO will, they've got a lot of satellite information. We're trying to predict heat waves. We're trying to predict some of the diseases like dengue, etc. So that's an aside. So coming back to the main topic, for those of you who have just joined, the health sector is about one of the largest contaminators of the environment, and we're trying to change it. So how do we transform this? I think a few books that I've written, green hospitals. We're trying to promote green hospitals that are energy efficient and built using sustainable materials. I think some of my colleagues here have already spoken about it. Now, something which many people do not look into is the supplies of the hospital. So sustainable procurement. So one of the efforts that we are actually focusing on is that we get our stuff, sustainable procurement, from suppliers who also ensure that they follow green standards, make sure that there's no pollution, and that they don't rely so much on carbon heavy products. So that's something that actually is paying a lot of dividends. We are extending it to beyond the hospital. We also talk about responsible management of waste, water, chemicals, plastics, and pharmaceuticals. And I think all of you know that hospital, the nurses, the doctors, they are looked upon as leaders, and we try and promote active and clean transport for patients and staff. And all the patients who come into hospital, we have flyers saying how, as one of my colleagues mentioned here, each one of us is responsible for the environment. So as thought leaders, we try and promote healthy practices when they come to the hospital. So what is our inspiration for action? I think this book, again, I'm focusing on a book because what I say cannot be even compressed into half an hour or 1 hour. So this book that we have written, and again, it's available as a free download. You just have to click on it. I think it's inclusiveness. We've got together national and international experts and climate scientists, and their combined knowledge, and this is credible knowledge backed by data. It offers not only a diagnosis, as somebody was saying, we shouldn't be only talking about problems, we also need the solution. So this is like a prescription for change. So what can we take away from this? And again, I must mention, I think we have experts and leaders from different aspects of the community. I am limited to health. So our message to the health sector is that we must heal ourselves. We must embrace the tenet. You all know that as physicians, we should first do no harm. So we're trying to focus on that. First, do no harm, not only to our patients, but also to the ecosystems that support life on Earth. So we are telling our people today in the health that today on the World Environment Day, that we should pledge to act where we have influence in our hospitals, clinics, in our classrooms, policies, and communities. Try and, very importantly, re-establish this broken link between humanity and nature. And I think it is our responsibility that future generations inherit not only good health, but a healthy planet. So thank you for this opportunity, Amit. And I think let us all be the generation that has transformed healthcare into a force for planetary healing. And from the health sector, I want to assure all of you that we are trying very hard to sensitize our hospitals, our healthcare professionals, so that each one of us plays a very important part in keeping the planet a healthy place for our children, for future generations. Thank you.
What are the recycling initiatives that your, these so-called hospitals, which are nowadays a replica of top corporates? We feel like we walked into a 5-star hotel or a corporate. At least they can be the front runners. They've been organizing marathons wherein the entire city is taken to ransom for almost a month. But what about the recycling aspects? What have been they doing?
Yeah. So I think something the government of India, I must appreciate the government of India. So any public limited chain, all the big chains, they're all publicly listed. So it's mandatory for them to have an ESG department. And I'm very happy to tell you that most of the big chains are trying to implement, and not only recycling in all aspects, in saving the water, reducing use of electricity, generating their own electricity. So I think that has added a big boost because the government of India has made it mandatory, and all the big hospitals have departments where they focus on everything, including recycling, including waste, So I think that's a good thing. We are trying to actually get that into the smaller hospitals. Smaller hospitals have a long way to go. And I think all of you know that health in our country, the corporate hospitals and the big hospitals provide only 10% of the beds. The actual beds are in the smaller hospitals, around by 30 to 50 beds. And the challenge is how to educate them, and we're trying to do that.
Role of the development research in terms of antibiotics and vaccines vis-a-vis impact on the environment.
So again, Amit, this is a huge topic. And I think there's in each of the states, and again, the government of India needs credit for they're introducing this One Health program, where I think all of you are aware that unused antibiotics, unused steroids are fed to animals that comes back into the system. So there's a very robust One Health program in the country, and we are working with a few states, including Karnataka. But it's actually it's a challenge because there are so many departments. Fortunately, one of the states in Kerala, it comes under the chief minister. Karnataka, it's still a little fragmented because you have health, you have veterinary, you have agriculture. But I think as we go along and learn, I think that will address this. Antibiotic resistance is a huge problem because of this. There's an estimate that in our country, about 400,000 people are dying because of antibiotic resistance, and that is only going to increase. So I think we all of us need to pull up our socks. We need to work together, make sure that our generation also survives, but more importantly, the future generation, we keep like when we were growing up with such a healthy and a very lush and green environment, that we try and replicate that again.
You know, the so-called folklores around ostrich, you know, we've been associating ostrich with human behavior in terms of, you know, passing the buck. But ostrich is also something which is known to produce the best immunological kind of, you know, medicinal properties. So as far as immunology 2020 to 2022, how do you think India can progress in terms of, you know, sustainable development towards, you know, being prepared for any such man-made disaster, if I may call it so?
So I think, see, the old adage that prevention is better than cure. You look at environment, and you're talking about lack of immunity. So I think lifestyle and environment are very closely related. So when you look at each one of us as individuals can take a few steps. One is eat healthy food. It also helps in agriculture. Don't eat junk food. Make sure you sleep in a good environment. Have a good sleep for 6 to 8 hours. Make sure you have no mental health, that you're stress free. It's difficult, but minimize your stress. And of course, exercise plays a very major role. We just again, if you go into the book on lifestyle as medicine. So as individuals, when you're healthy, I think it translates into a healthy community, into a healthy nation, into a healthy world.
That brings me, Dr. Thomas, that brings to me to another issue about the role of the agencies like FSSAI in terms of regulating the intake as far as global standards are concerned for salt, sugar, you know, mineral contents of water, you know, and all this is again directly linked to the environment because, you know, even a kid going to a cinema hall and, you know, munching 3 tubs of popcorn for 1,000 rupees unlimited, you know what impact it can have.
No, absolutely. So I think every question you ask, it goes deeper and deeper into the subject, which is important. So one of the things we are doing, I'm sure my IAS colleagues will know of Dr. Pawan Agarwal. He was with the FSSAI. We are working with him, and he's bringing out a curriculum for school children because it's very important what they eat. And unfortunately, I think the present rate, 20 to 30% of what they eat is junk food, which is not good for their development. It's not good for their health. We're trying slowly, but I think it will take time for this to actually percolate into the system.
No, I know Pawan Agarwal, 85 batch West Bengal cadre IAS officer. He was also CEO of FSSAI.
Yes.
And he started that campaign, you know, which was then carried forward by even now the current FSSAI CEO, GVK Kamala Rao, has been taking a lot of initiatives. Even the spices have become so sweet that they, you know, keep going to and forth from, you know, rejections abroad and maligning the nation's image. But any which
But I
way, final
think
question to you.
I think it's a little different now. See, because I travel a bit, so I eat out in hotels. So I think I think the FSSAI has played a major role in ensuring that for each dish, what are the ingredients, what is the calories, what is the salt. I'm seeing more and more of that, and even in packaged foods. So I think we must compliment the government of India. They're slow but steady, but I think it's certainly far improved from at least 4 to 5 years ago.
Yeah, I understand, and I am concurring with you that the government, it has always been, because any government of India, which is managing a country of 100 crores and 120 crores and now 150 crores, will be doing a lot of things because we have always been at ground zero. And the only way is going upwards and going forward. Now, the year of millets, how many millet, friendly joints do you see across the country, Dr. Thomas? Any which ways, final question to you, maize, millets, all these are great things to hear. Stories are wonderful, but I've never come across a maize millet shop, a counter, apart from the ones which are selling it through street vendors encroaching the pavements illegally and selling that at 2 times the cost.
I have to disagree with you because in the last maybe 6 months, every place where I've stayed, every hotel we have stayed, they've had a separate counter for millets. They've encouraged it, and I was surprised. But it's definitely not only in street corners. I think
Absolutely.
even the middle and
we can see, absolutely, there are green shoots available. There are green shoots everywhere for everything. But my only worry is, just a couple of days back when I went, 3 days back when I was around some villages in Jharkhand, and I could see outside the headquarters of top coal companies. Coal again is an issue which nobody would come to represent today, despite it being the 50th year of Coal India. But any which ways, I could see major environmental mishaps even around the first private dam of the nation, the Maithan Dam. Anyway, just the final question to you, sir. The final discussion I would like to have about is the role of allopathy vis-a-vis the traditional medicines, Ayush, Unani, which is now gaining a lot of traction from the government, especially announcing September as the month of Ayush, as the 21st September, that day on which the transition of solar, solstice happens. So those kind of things. So finally, what is the role of Ayush, Unani, and how more important and significant would it be to a country like India, which is rigged with infrastructural bottlenecks, policy paralysis, red tapeism, and then there is so much corruption? How do you think,
we are in a country, we're very fortunate to be in a country, we have different systems, allopathy, Ayurveda, and Ayush. Now, in my experience, unfortunately, Ayush is being used only for curative. Not Ayush, I'm talking allopathy. And we are trying to change that, trying to say preventive is better. Fortunately for us in Ayush and the other Siddha and homeopathy, they play a lot of importance on prevention. So I think we have the best of both. The only caution to the government is that they should not mix the two. There was a recent this thing in Jimba, they're trying to mix both and come with a course. Allopathy has its own uses. Now, if you mix the both, I think it's very important that we should not lose the value that we have. Ayurveda and homeopathy have come over the years. And my greatest fear is that will become diluted. Allopathy is, internationally known, so it's okay. But we have something very valuable, very useful, and I think we shouldn't lose it. So I think we should promote the Ayush and Siddha and homeopathy separately. There should not be any mixopathy. There is huge value in this. In fact, I'm an orthopedic surgeon, and when I was practicing orthopedics, we had no cure for rheumatoid arthritis. I used to send all my patients to an Ayurvedic colleague of mine with excellent results. So my message is, we need to work together, utilize the best aspects of each of the systems. But very importantly, I think that now the time is focus on how to live a healthy lifestyle, because prevention is far better than cure.
Thank you, Dr. Thomas. I think we can carry on. As you know, there are so many issues untouched and untapped, but then these discussions are only to touch upon important areas, whichever comes to mind extempore, because this gets cascaded to the policymakers, as you're well over the last few years. Now, I quickly bring in Mr. Vimal Waklu. Waklu sir, you've been a crusader for many issues, and you've linked environment, ESG, with a very important aspect of India's growth story, telecom and IT. Take us through your views in terms of the day-to-day Environment Day.
Yeah, thank you, Amit. Before I start, I would again like to thank Dr. Alexander. I mean, every word of his is like music to my ears. I mean, and my conclusion is, I've been a part of Telemedicine Society of India, and final conclusion that health needs to be treated as a service and not as business. Unfortunately, where it has strayed in. That's the main challenge. And of course, with doctors like Dr. Alexander, and he being from a country of God's own land, I'm sure that the future is bright for that. I just wanted to
Yeah,
mention.
thank you, sir. I agree with you. I come from a mission background. 35 years in a mission hospital, which is run by CMC Vellore. Thank you for those kind
Yeah.
words.
So coming to the subject now, from the perspective you have told me, I mean, there was a mention about the Sustainable Development Goals. These Sustainable Development Goals 2030, yes, they sort of have 17 goals and a lot of big, you can say, objectives. But they are fraught with challenges. Why? Because I was closely linked to some of the UN projects. Like there is one, United for Smart Sustainable Cities, which I am still a member of. Then another initiative, Artificial Intelligence for Environmental Efficiency. Artificial intelligence, it's a focus group on health, on agriculture. So everywhere, I find how people are circumventing, some interested parties are circumventing all the basic fundamentals of sustainability, just using these goals themselves. So I have, in fact, to tell you honestly, I'm not sure that after these goals, the earth is going to be a great place to live in. Because the time is limited, I won't be able to explain now. Maybe we'll have a separate session on that. Now, as a technology evangelist, I mentioned, my faith is that we can solve a lot of problems the Mother Earth is faced with, leveraging various emerging technologies, including artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, blockchain, e-networks, extended reality, big data analytics, quantum computing, drones, 3D printing, digital twins, renewable energy, and of course, carbon capture technologies. Whether it's the domain of water management, we can use it there. For air quality management, we can use it there. Traffic management, it's being used in many places, even food and agriculture, precision agriculture, which has, of course, got initiated in Israel, now in the Middle East, and even India. It's gaining a lot of traction. Smart energy management, and even flora and fauna. Like, it's very interesting to see how, 3D printing is used by Bahrain for ensuring that the corals which have got damaged are rebuilt. It's a very interesting project. Similarly, for protecting the rare species, we are using drones. So we are a lot of using preventive measures for weather forecasting, climate change, smart housing, 3D printed houses, net zero buildings, inclusive habitats, and other things. Even in town planning, it's being used. Now, but at the same time, we are forgetting something. That is our own index solutions. I sort of always quote this example of the Chandigarh city, for example. When Le Corbusier designed the city in 1960, he said that the city is not going to expand beyond this domain. And the reason for that was, he said the clusters around it should take care of all the needs of the town. It means fruits, vegetables, milk, everything should come from those clusters around it. So no need of expanding it, so that you reduce transportation and it's in tune with the environment. That is how the thought process was more than 70 years back. But the problem is that we are violating everything that we do. And here also we have given up on our abandoning this chemical farming, which is really causing a lot of damage. And we need to go back to the organic farming. These are some of the other things like Vastu Shastra. I feel that it's a big energy saver because you are taking full advantage of the environment like that. Even eco-friendly clothing, we are using big machines for washing our clothes, and in the process waste a lot of water, which is a precious resource, and we don't care about it. And like Bhutan is using skylights. There are a lot of Indic solutions, like one example I quote, which Khair also would agree with me. Like in Kashmir, people use firans, it's a cloak. And when these wear out, there are other things created out of it, like gabba and other things. So this is how we keep using and reusing things. This is a very important way. And similarly, in West Bengal, we have this Kantha. So we jointly gave a paper on this in the UN, one of the UN conferences, because that is the way to save, not use and throw culture, which we have acquired from West. This is a big challenge. And in fact, Dr. Kalam, who I consider as my guru, he was talking about Pura, providing urban amenities in rural areas, migration of populations from the rural areas into the urban areas and create trouble there in terms of, a huge damage to the resources there. And if we provide e-education, digital health, and everything in the rural areas itself, the 70% of India will have those amenities and and have fresh air and water at the same time, rather than creating troubles in the cities itself. Now, coming specifically to my domain of telecom, I would like to say, nowadays, in the past decade or and a half, maybe, people talk big things about protecting the environment, not using printouts to save the planet. But at the same time, every day, now almost 100 crore people in this country, they forward messages from one person to another, and they keep multiplying. Like there is a multiplication effect to the extent. But it's free for us. Yes, it doesn't cost us money, but it's costing money to the environment. Every message we forward, it is for at 100 crore people, 100 crore subscribers, it means, gigawatts of energy, which we don't realize. And of course, the problem is, yes, our IT industry, telecom and IT industry on the whole, it has transformed the country in a big way. When it comes to economy, even it's encouraging to see how WhatsApp is smartly being used by small-time entrepreneurs. And of course, there is a democratization of content. Social media become a powerful tool. And of course, there is a personality development. Education has become more inclusive. Health, already we have talked about. Workplaces, work from home, it has resulted in many positive changes, including saving of energy. And, but at the same time, we are facing challenges because of misuse of these very resources, like irrational use of these forward of calls I have mentioned, use of AI platforms. Nowadays, it has become a fashion to ask every question out of the AI platform. We don't realize that it's costing so much of energy, and every use of energy has got carbon footprints. Social media, of course, It's a double-edged sword. It helps also, but at the same time, it can create trouble in the society we are aware of. And distraction is another challenge due to the content we consume on the family relations, because in a family, as a member, 4-member family, all the 4 are on phone when they are together. This another challenge we are faced. And US administration, in one of their EPRI research, says that about every you can say search consumes 290 watt hours of energy. Imagine every search on AI. So we need to be prudent with this. And of course, at the society level, I feel we need to make our children aware of it, because children are the future and this planet belongs to them. If they know the challenges, maybe they'll start rectifying not only themselves, they'll educate the parents as well. And of course, at the individual level, we have to give it a thought. At the service provider level, I'm talking right now about telecom service providers. Of course, their business model works on more and more data consumption, although they keep bickering at times with the content providers and OTT platforms, but they are benefiting a lot out of it. And I personally, because I have been from the same domain, also face some challenges from there from time to time. But the regulator needs to look at the carbon footprints generated by this, and some maybe structural changes in the tariff policy needs to be done so that it doesn't become just a disease which will be incurable at times. There are multiple components of the telecom itself, like cellular mobile systems, satellite systems, submarine cables, optical fiber, data centers, and cloud infrastructure. And everything is contributing to the environmental challenges. Because at present, about 4 gigawatts of power are being used only by the cellular towers in India. And only 20% of those use green energy. Green energy itself is a challenge. I'll maybe talk about it sometime later. But every year, 200 million cellular phones are being added to the market in India alone. And out of that, at the same time, 130 million phones are being scrapped. So this is adding to the environmental pressures, e-waste, in the form of e-waste. We need to give it a thought about how we can really refurbish, repair, and reuse. Satellite systems, we have got these LEO constellations now being the latest in the domain. There are about 10,000 satellites of LEO in orbit, and overall about 12,000 satellites. And these debris, because their life is just about 2-3 years, it's going to cause a serious challenge to us from the environmental perspective. And of course, we have been flagging these issues, but there is a challenge that there are vested interests who try to downplay it. Similarly, these operating satellite networks need ground stations, data centers, and the satellites themselves. We need to ensure that we use green energy, which is not in vogue at present. Similarly, laying submarine cables. Nowadays, everybody's laying submarine cables. Even Google its own, everybody's doing its own, because, they keep increasing. But they're damaging the basic marine habitat. That's a big challenge. And nobody is looking at it at present. Of course, we need to sort of pay a lot of attention to this. Data centers, they are a big disaster when it comes to energy. And at present, about 500 terawatt hours of energy are being consumed by the data centers globally, which is going to go to 950 terawatt hours by 2030. So this is a big challenge, and we need to look at greening them and reducing the use of them. And at the policy and regulation levels, there are many things that can be done. And but at our level and the societal level, I think we need to take a call on this. For the present, that's where I would like to close. Thank you.
I think being a non-technical person, half the things probably was difficult for me to understand personally. But I do understand that you covered, at much I understand, that you covered so much so that I'm not left with much questions as of now. But yes, electronic waste I wanted to ask, you've already talked about it. I want to talk to you about the asteroids and the satellites and the kind of ozone depletions. You've already talked about it. I wanted to talk to you about the e-waste generated. You've already talked about it. So basically now, yes, Vodafone, sometimes it says 100 towers an hour, and then it says 1 lakh towers in 6 months. What is this tower business vis-a-vis environmental decadence it causes?
I mentioned that the towers, of course, there's no other way out of ensuring complete coverage of cellular service in the country. So you have to have towers. Now, the thing is that you have to have towers which are nimble-footed, which use minimum energy. I mean, for that, the transmitters needs to be minimum energy. But since our greed for data is increasing by the day, as I was mentioning, so you need to add towers every time. So this is a big challenge. So we need to have a balance, which is possible only if we impose proper tariff structures. As I keep telling that in my young days, a call from India to abroad for about 2-3 minutes would cost about 500-600 rupees. Now for 500-600 rupees nowadays, you can get so much of data for months together and have free calls abroad on your WhatsApp. And so this is a big challenge, and we need to rationalize our tariff structure so that, yes, it doesn't become a burden on those people, but at the same time, we use it prudently. That is the only way out. Otherwise, if we go on in the same cycle, people will have to, the service providers will have to add more towers, more transmitters, and that has implications on the environment. So that will be a sure recipe for disaster.
Thank you, Aklu Saab. I'll again get you back before we are going to be ending the show in another an hour or so. But we've been joined by Professor A.G. Iyer, an authority on the subject of energy. He knows solar. He is the advisor to the Prime Minister of Bhutan also, amongst so many other nations and committees that he's chairing. He is an authority on solar, wind, and all kinds of energy, water. For example, he educated me a few days back about the kind of rate structures that are being approved by these public sector companies for installation and commissioning of power plants, which are way beyond kind of cognitive imagination. Any which ways, we have with us Dr. Amardeep Singh Chaudhary. He is the CEO of the National Land Monetization Corporation, as I introduced him earlier. Amardeep ji, as you told me, you have to leave by 12:50 because Moses Saab, the secretary, has called you. So I now leave the discussion open for you in terms of explaining to us the role of this NLMC, interested with monetizing the unused huge assets and the kind of impact it has on the environment of this nation as far as the public sector is concerned.
Thank you very much, Amitji. As I earlier told you, the NLMC, the work has not it has been fully established, but still we are working in DP itself. So in that way, we have not shifted to, we have not arranged another space also. Number of assets has also not been, so many assets has been transferred so far to NLMC. Last year itself, the only 468 crore asset we could dispose of. So that is still not fully established. So that is why I'm covering other role of DP. We are giving theme for CSR, corporate social responsibility. So I'm going to cover that also and some aspect of sustainability also. With your kind permission. Role of sustainability in saving the environment. Sustainability plays a crucial role in protecting and preserving the environment for present and future generations. Here are how sustainability helps in saving the environment. Conservation of natural resources. Sustainability promotes the efficient use of natural resources such as water, fossil fuels, and forests, ensuring they are preserved and replenished rather than exhausted. Reduction in pollution. Third one is promotion of renewable energy. Moving from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources significantly reduces greenhouse gas emissions and combats climate change. Next one is waste management and recycling. Fifth one is sustainable agriculture and food systems. Eco-friendly farming practices conserve soil health, protect water sources, and reduce the use of harmful chemicals, leading to a healthier environment. Protection of biodiversity, climate change mitigations, public awareness and education are also some of the sustainability aspects. Sustainability is not just an environment goal, it is a way of life that balances ecological, economic, and social factors to ensure a healthy planet for generations to come. Now I will touch upon the role of corporate social responsibility, CSR, in saving the environment. DP, Department of Public Enterprises, also give theme to CPSEs, though it is mandatory under Companies Act to every company, but for, in respect of CPSE, DPA give theme to CPSEs to comply with the guidelines. For 2024-25, the CSR theme for CPSEs given by DP was health and nutrition. And also we added Prime Minister International Internship Scheme as common theme for CPSEs. This is for financial year 2024 and 25. What is corporate social responsibility is? CSR means the voluntary contributions made by companies to a better society and a clean environment. It is a concept whereby companies integrate social and other useful concerns in their business operations for the betterment of their stakeholders and society in general. Companies Act 2013 mandates all eligible enterprises to allocate 2% of their average net profit, 2% of their average net profit over the preceding 3 financial years to CSR activities. Department of Public Enterprises has designing a common theme for each financial year, as I discussed with you. And what is the role of CSR in saving the environment? CSR plays a crucial role in promoting environmental sustainability, as businesses have a significant impact on natural resources and ecosystems. Their active participation is essential to combat environmental degradation. Here is how CSR contributes to environmental conservation. First one is promoting sustainable business practices. CSR encourages companies to integrate environmentally responsible. This includes a reduction in carbon footprints, conserving water and energy, minimizing waste and encouraging recycling, switching to renewable energy sources. Another one is environmental protection initiatives. Companies often take up specific environmental projects as part of their CSR agenda, such as afforestation and tree plantation drives, cleaning of rivers, lakes, and public places, conservation of biodiversity and wildlife, restoration of degradation ecosystems. Next one is green innovation and technology. CSR promotes research and innovation for developing eco-friendly products and processes such as electrical vehicle and green transportation, biodegradable packaging, low emission production methods. Environmental footprints of both the company and its consumers. Next one, CSR initiative is community awareness and participation. CSR programs frequently include awareness campaigns and partnership with local communities, NGOs, and educational institutions to educate people on climate change and environmental conservation, promote sustainable living habits, involve citizens in green initiatives like cleanup drives and waste segregation. Many companies go beyond regulatory compliance by setting voluntary sustainability goals also. CSR is no longer just a philanthropic gesture, but a strategic tool for long-term environmental stewardship. When corporations actively invest in sustainability, they not only protect the planet, but also build trust and loyalty among stakeholders, contributing to a greener and more resilient future. The provision of CSR applies to every company fulfilling any of the following conditions. These are the conditions which are eligible. Net worth of company more than rupees 500 crore, turnover of more than rupees 1000 crore, and net profit of more than rupees 5 crore. The board of directors of every company for which the CSR provision apply must ensure that the company spends in every financial year at least 2% of their average net profit of last 3 years. To conclude, as we stand at a critical juncture in our development journey, we must remember the future is not something that we inherit. It is something we build. This World Environment Day, let us commit to being builders of that future, not just for ourselves, but for our generations to come. That is what I want to include with your kind permission, because again, as Secretary Sir is calling me also. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and hope in future also, whenever there will be any participation, I will be there. And thank you very much to Mr. Arun Kumar Sinha ji also, who was also in 2010, he was also in DP. Thank you very much to all.
Thank you, Mr. Chaudhary. It was wonderful to listen to you, because NLMC is an organization which is of utmost relevance to the nation because of the huge amount of infrastructure lying unutilized. And in future, also, the government has to be ensured that utilization of the public resources are optimized so that corporations like NLMC have less work to do. But any which ways, let me quickly bring in Professor A. Gopal Krishnan Iyer. He is an authority on the subject of solar energy, clean energy. Iyer Sahab, thank you for joining. I hope you had a good stint with the Prime Minister of Bhutan. Now, this World Environment Day, the focus of the United Nations is on plastic. We've talked about everything except plastic, because there is no point talking about plastic. Wherever I see, I just see that mineral water bottles, and with that company's name called Bisleri, or various modifications of the name Bisleri that we keep seeing all around us. But any which ways, Professor A.G. Iyer, how geared India is in terms of meeting global standards with respect to the 2070 net zero goal, or 2047 Amrit Kal goal? How close are we when we are still shelling out projects at 20-22 rupees per megawatt from the public sectors to even companies like Tata?
See, as we last time discussed, I repeat, we are now reaching 20 crore per megawatt or 22.5 crore per megawatt, irrespective whether it's a thermal project or whether it is a combined hybrid project, which we mentioned on this Tata NTPC thing. So that is not the kind of cost that we should ever discover. See the solar, for example. Solar has set a benchmark, because when I started explaining this to Dr. Pandian, when he was the Principal Secretary Energy, the government of Gujarat, when Modi Sahab was the Chief Minister at the time, that was to bring the cost to less than 5 crore per megawatt for solar. And the tariff also to less than 5 rupees per kilowatt hour. That was the target. And this was the year 2011 when REPA was born. And that was the year we were born. We were already inertia before that. So REPA advised a tariff to be brought down from below 5 rupees per unit. Everybody opposed us on that. For a public, what has happened today? Whatever our organization has done, Goenka Sahab, that time, today that's a reality. We are at less than 3 rupees per unit for solar. And we are less than 3 crore per megawatt on the cost. So if this is the benchmark that we'll know, let us take one step. People will ask me, what about wind power? I can assure you that wind power also is very reasonable, less than 5 crore per megawatt, right? And tariffs are also roughly 4 rupees per kilowatt hour. So now why we are having this thermal at 20 crore per megawatt? That is a very real question. If thermal, ultra, mega, ultra super advanced go to 20 crore per megawatt, then I tell you, we should not do more thermal. We should end up doing our hydropower. Hydropower are assets which last us 75-100 years. Bakra is operating beyond the 75-year zone. Sri Salem is operating. In my state of Maharashtra, Koyna is operating, right? Mettur is operating down in Tamil Nadu. So you take up any project, in the hydro projects, including the irrigation dams based, I would say, secondary generation, which is like, multi-purpose projects. All of them, Indra Sagar Dam, 1,000 megawatt is generating. It's a big storage project that has helped the farmers of Madhya Pradesh to produce wheat at low cost. So we must realize that if you have to put this kind of a cost, then I'm telling you at 8 to 10 crore per megawatt, hydropower is a better choice. Why should you build thermal power, which will pollute more? So these are my questions which have been raised right at the door of the Central Electricity Authority and the Ministry of Power. And, it cannot fall on deaf ears. They must wake up. They cannot do this kind of benchmarking where I end up paying. See, I am living in Dombivli in Maharashtra. It's a Thane circle. You come to Thane, you come to Ulhasnagar, you come to Titwala, you come to Navi Mumbai. You come to any of these circle, Kalyan, Bhiwandi. Your tariffs, if you are 500 units, an average middle class will consume 500 units. Air condition chalta hai. Even jhopadis are using air condition now. So with that, 300 units is gone nowhere. Once you reach 500 units, my tariff at my home, forget about anybody else's proof. I am the evidence saying 15 rupees 30 paisa. That is the kilowatt hour tariff I am having for more than 500 units. Now, if you are telling me domestic power at 1531, and that was with older power plants which are, defrayed and their capex is already gone. That means they are depreciated assets. If with depreciated assets, with a hybrid, 50% of the capacity is depreciated, I am paying as a citizen 15 rupees 31 paisa per unit in the commercial capital region of or trade capital region of Mumbai. And the lowest price that is there in this is, I would tell you, 7 rupees in Delhi, or Bengaluru, 7 rupees, 8 rupees. Average is 7 to 8 rupees, half of what we are paying, what my Thanekar is paying or a Domblikar is paying. So if that is the situation, I can assure you that we will go to 30 rupees and the rest of the country will come to 20 rupees. Are we going to this direction? Are we going to have no benchmarking? People can come and put anything in the name of technology and they end up increasing my power and nobody knows the asset life. For example, I'll tell you the battery energy storage system. The asset class for a 25-year power purchase agreement will have to change the batteries 3 to 4 times. Are the investors calculating this, or they are saddling poor assets in the hand and later on they will negotiate again, get a better price because nobody, they will go to arbitration, they go to court and say we are not able to, international price have increased and they will suddenly go up. This is the model we have adopted for our highways. Highways today are unviable in many ways. For example, the Samruddhi Mahamarg in Maharashtra, 730 kilometer, of which 550 kilometer odd is done from Igatpuri. Its benchmark cost of NHAI was for a 6-lane highway, benchmark cost of NHAI for 2024 was 24 to 25 crore per kilometer. I repeat, for a 6-lane highway, concrete based highway, advanced technology, benchmark cost per kilometer was 24 to 25 crore. What is it that we have achieved in the 550 odd kilometers that is constructed? Our cost is 3 times more, sir, 76 crores per megawatt per kilometer. So we are giving similar kind of positions now for the power sector where some control was there. If we allow this cost to go beyond our control and without any logic, right? So this kind of tenders or this kind of, I would say, projects will actually increase the burden on the common man, and the industry will continue to earn whom they are selling. Finally, if you see, industry is having its own captive power plants, so they don't go to the grid to buy more power. They are hybridizing the grid power with connected load, demand and all, and producing their own electricity. So nothing will happen to them. Unka koi nuksan nahi hoga. Now comes the next part. If the domestic fellow, they cannot produce, they're not even allowed full rooftops. We're talking of, these programs, thanks to the Prime Minister initiatives and the PMO initiatives and other things. We're talking of Kusum in the rural, we are talking of Surya Ghar and all that. But I can tell you that the distribution companies in the state do not allow a rooftop producer to get power easily. And even if they get power, they will ask them to put the power at a low cost. But when he buys back in the net metering system, he has to end up buying the grid power cost. What is this? Is there? We can have zero cost of power if individual societies put rooftops. But are they not? They are not encouraged. They are told that you cannot build full capacity. You should be continuing in my system. You should keep buying something from me. So there is a lot of flaw in the current renewable energy model. I'll give you one simple example. How a decentralized board.
Just a small request. Today on the World Environment Day, I understand your pet subject is energy. And we also have Karunisa with us. She's from Kashmir. She is represented the World Trade Center at a global level, and she would be talking to us after your speech about the issues that we are facing in Kashmir. But I would request you to just focus on the environmental issues as far as the clean energy aspects are concerned. Because yes, you are talking about the industry.
I told you,
industry having captive power, etc. But yes, there are cases of industry, even the power companies having spats with these industries, because industries have been talking about the tariffs being increased. The companies like DVCs have been crying, despite having the first private sector dam, that they've never received any grant after 1970 or 75 or whatever. I mean, and the rates are fixed by the Electric Commission. So there are so many issues around electricity and the rates. But how does India position itself in terms of the next 15, 20 years in terms of green energy? Because we're talking about green, blue, we're talking about wind. Kashmir, for example, I do not know, despite having all the mountain ranges and the water, how many water, kind of power plants it has, hydropower plants it has. I'm not sure. That Karunisa will speak about the possibilities. So please take us through the energy vis-a-vis the environmental situation in India, because currently we are all completely, a coal-driven economy. So what is the future for us?
See, I can tell you that the future for a country like India, if all the assets are handled properly, is a fantastic future for renewable energy. But how it gets spoiled? It gets spoiled because the moment we again go back to dependence, and that is my fear. Currently, we are trying to build some 100 gigawatt or 97 gigawatt of thermal power. So I would say, while talking renewable energy, we continue to build thermal power. Why we need thermal power? Because we have a challenge to provide base load to our cities and the huge capacity index that is required. I think your earlier speaker has highlighted why it was required. So much capacity is required. For example, we have the call centers, the data center going to knowledge processing center. So when you go towards the data and other things, your requirement of energy goes up. So environment is connected, because when energy goes up, how would you produce it? Your source of production has to be renewable and sustainable. And if that is not the case, then you end up adding quick capacity, because if growth rate of economy, we say 6%, I can tell you a 6% growth rate of economy needs at least double-digit growth in the power sector. I've said power sector, watch my word. So power sector comprises coal-based power and also renewable power. So there is also the energy side, which is the transport and others. If I take that aspect, then you need clean fuel, which is like CBG and other things. So our challenge here is, how do we keep this mix going? How do we sustain this mix until 2047? I don't believe in the 2076 at all, because it's too far off. Who will survive in 2070? We do not know. Let us talk about 2050. That was the goal. America said we will go net zero 2050. China said we'll go 2060, and we said 2070. Two big nations have not committed to the 2050 goals. So we are not committed. We said 2070. So I think I was happy to see Viksit Bharat 2047. If we have to be a Viksit Bharat, we have to be a Viksit Bharat with renewable, and that has to be 50 to 60% in the grid by 2047. How would you do 2047, 50 to 60? I will give you a figure. 2032, I don't go that long. When we are all living, I hope all of us live beyond that. When we are all surviving, don't talk of times when you are not alive. Talk about times when you will be alive. 2032, my target is minimum we will need 1.2 terawatt capacity. Now this 1.2 terawatt in generation terms, because actually the plant load factor of solar and wind is lower, 20 to 25%, whereas thermal power has plant load factors of close to 45%. And hydropower will have a availability factor. There is no plant load factor. Availability factor, which will go 9 months. It will generate the best form of energy. No energy can compete with hydropower and pump storage. Pump storage, last year we built the policy. These save the environment. And they see, there is a one aspect key. There are environmental issues in hydropower. There are no environmental issue. The only issue in hydropower is rehabilitation and resettlement. So I believe we need to go to a target which is different. And I saw a flash on the screen on COP29. COP has failed us. COP went there, I have targeted them. COP29 was a big mazak, big failure. What they did is they committed basically only $300 billion for development in the last COP29. And they reduced the budget from 544 billion. UNCTAD had said that this 544 billion is insufficient. Current world economy is $110 trillion, in which 10% we should be spending on renewable energy and sustainable development goals. But what are we spending? 300 billion. Peanuts. These rich economies should answer people like me. What nonsense they are doing. They are all going to cocktail circuits and they are not resulting and they are not committing funds to the world order. And this commitment of lack of funds will actually impact country like India. We are the transitional economy. I always call India as a transitional economy. It is neither underdeveloped, it is developing, but beyond developing, we have become transitional. We're at the cusp of breaking through. But our breakthrough will only happen if we manifest our thinking, our design in environmental sustainability, and that is only renewable energy. And we at REPA have introduced a new word. All this world has to come to our point of view, which is renewability beyond sustainability. What is renewability? It is very different from sustainability. Sustainability is if you have a river, let us take an example of a river. If I have to make the river Ganga, sustain, then I will continue to pollute as much as it is polluted today. I will not improve the river. I will not rejuvenate it. I will not replenish it. What I will do is, I will continue to, itna pollution hai, ye aska, the level of pollution is there. The water analysis will be done. And I will say we will sustain that. We will not pollute it further, but we will sustain that. So the problem with the word sustainability is it doesn't give improvement. And therefore, we have introduced a new idea in the world order. And everybody has to follow it over a period of time because it takes time for people to get the sense. We need to go renewability. And it is nothing to do with only renewable energy. It has got to do with replenishing and renewing the economy. And when I say economy, it includes industry, it includes household, it includes agriculture, it includes energy, which includes every dimension of economy. And when that is why people like me call ourselves technomists. There are no practicing technomists in the world order. There are either economists or there are technologists. There we need to fuse this. We must become technomists. And technomists will not allow the word in the Sustainable Development Goals word. It's called affordable, clean and green energy. Every word is affordable. Affordable, clean and green water. Access to affordable, clean and green water and clean and green energy. So your word is affordable. This syllable in the front called affordable is the key to development economics. Right now, we are not doing affordable. We are ensuring that we'll get access to things at very high cost. So look at the disaster in electric vehicle. Maharashtra has introduced a policy. What is electric vehicle doing? Electric vehicle ends up drawing power from the grid, which is 70% non-renewable. 73% of actual generated power on the grid is coming from coal. Therefore, we will increase the coal-based power pollution that is much higher than using gas in vehicles. So it is better to use CBG, compressed biogas, which white paper we created in 2021. That white paper should be enhanced. We produce more compressed gas from rural economy and then deliver it to automotive sector. That is a better option than going to electric vehicles. So, but governments, after governments making this fun, it's a fun, chal raha hai, joke chal raha hai. Abhi America learned the lesson. They went to electric vehicle. Now they have reversed that electric vehicle. Basically, what they have done is California was a state. In fact, I was the man who educated in 2009 two people, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. They took me to a coffee shop in Vancouver in Canada. We were watching that, steam clock over there. And these two fellows took me for a cup of coffee. They wanted to know from me after I questioned how this mechanism works. Steam clock, so many years it's working there in the lake. So they said, sir, you come, we'll get you a coffee. That's the time I told Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was actually governor of Arkansas at that time, that they should not allow the diesel vehicles to enter the city. This resulted in a massive movement toward gas vehicles. And later on, I traveled in the 2009 on a gas reformer hydrogen producing truck in Canada. So hydrogen is not new. I went to a truck with 200 bhp in Canada. I have an experience of doing that and seeing. Ballard was providing the technology. But look at us, we are not getting this technology here, right? Or we are not integrating, we have to absorb and we produce it here. All this business of electric vehicles is the biggest problem that country will create, because we don't have to, do away with choice. Let people have the choice to buy gas-based CBG vehicles, compressed biogas, and go towards hydrogen economy. Why people are being forced with electric vehicles when the battery disposal is an environmental disaster with with lithium, cobalt, nickel, all rare earth material going in and big trouble. Europe has realized it, America has realized it, and now California and 12 states have come to President Donald Trump to reverse that, electric vehicle order of monopoly, saying that we must be allowed as citizens choice to take our vehicle. Both are green. Compressed biogas is green. Electric vehicle is not that green, as I explained to you, that you put up too much of this. And what has happened? I want Government of India to see this video of mine. The moment you introduce electric vehicle, you help two Chinese companies, MG with Hector and all that model, and the second was BYD. They, in Indian automotive sector, until the last 10 years, there is not a single Chinese automobile in India. Today, now they have taken over the market. And our fellows like Mahindra and they are switching, but they're struggling to compete with Tata, struggling to compete with these guys, and they will take over the market. So electric means we are helping the Chinese economy further. If we have to work, we work on compressed biogas, and that is an environmental issue, because the moment you use CBG, your pollutions come down because it's bionic, and you can convert CBG to hydrogen also. Membranes are available. We have used the Evonik membrane at Rohtak at Spectrum Renewable Energy, producing 8 tons of CBG, and absolutely clean plant. All of you must go and visit. And I think there's somewhere, our vehicle manufacturers and the CBG makers, they should get together. I hope Anand Mahindra is seeing this, and Anand Mahindra should come and offer a few of his truck and this to the compressed biogas people. There are so many of us. We have 2,200 LOIs. We have said we will build 10,000 CBG plants in this country. And my view is every village can produce 5 tons of compressed biogas. That means only 30%, in 640,000 villages, only 30% of the villages will need to support India's economy, and we'll completely stop import of fossil LNG to convert to CNG. So what we'll do, it will come as CBG, bio-CNG, and balance we can produce bionic hydrogen and export to the world order. Why don't our country think like this? This is green hydrogen.
You're endangering Reliance.
Yeah?
You're endangering Reliance.
I am not endangering anybody, madam. I'm only bothered about India. I don't care whether it is a Reliance or Adani, Ambani. They're all my friends. They are all my friends. There is a force called Professor Iyer. I don't need money. I don't need anything. So I will be a force till I am alive. I don't care. They are not going to dictate to me what I have to do. We as a forum, we dictate to them. We tell the government what to do. We got through so many policies. So don't be under any impression that there are no people in this country who can fight for this country. And it's a fair fight. I'm not discussing any Hindu, Muslim, nothing. I'm only discussing either you're an agnostic towards energy and you're worried about national. We are the Bhagat Singhs of the modern era. You come in front of us, whether it's a Reliance or anybody, we'll tell these fellows what to do. Today they went and promised 500 plants to Andhra Pradesh. They did not come in the first stage. Why did they come? Because some of our friends have joined Reliance. They told them that CBG is a good business. So if it's a good business proposition, every Lala will come in the business. Be it Adani, be it Ambani. It's not about them. The story about India. 10 more businesses have to come. 100 businesses have to come. You tell me why we are only discussing only 2 companies. The pump storage leaders in the country are Greenco, and they are as big as Adani. And for me, Adani is my boy. Adani Green Energy, my boy is sitting over there. Vineet Jain. Vineet is doing a good job. What's the problem?
Okay, Professor Iyer. Okay, let me just ask you a couple of things. COP30 is scheduled in Brasilia, the Amazons, and Brazil has a tradition, and it is well known for the biogas or the biofuel kind of an economy, as far as my limited knowledge goes on the subject.
No, I'll tell you. You have to be
Could
careful
you tell
about
us how prepared, because you see Hardeep Puri also the current petroleum minister, was also posted there as an ambassador a couple of decades back. And he has a target of 20% blending.
I have a problem with the Brazil. I have a problem with the Brazil model. The Brazil model is about conversion of ethanol. That means they will convert everything into ethanol, right? My problem is ethanol is only a blending fuel. Ethanol is not CBG. So this sugar cycle from cane sugar, if I have to produce energy, I have only introduced the word farmer as an energy producer. Jisko Urja Data keh rahe hain abhi mantri. They are talking about Urja Data. From where this word came? Because I have been pushing Mr. Nayak, and we have to sell food in calorific value. So if the food is served in calorific value, not in kilos, the game changes. So I'm working on that paper. But I'll tell you what is the energy diamond here. Brazil is the producer of ethanol. And our ethanol, once you go towards ethanol, you reduce the capacity to bring the press mud out, and then press mud se aap biogas nikal sakte hain. That is a better option than even going to ethanol. And I'll tell you, Dheeraj Deshmukh is the youngest son of Mr. Vilasrao Deshmukh, the former Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Dheeraj has put 2 20 tons plant, 10 ton each in Latur. Beautiful place, 5 lakh people. Now he has to get, his people are telling me, they readied the plant, but they have to wait for the molasses season because they have to use the molasses and the spent wash waste to produce the CBG. Now, if they convert that into ethanol, how would they get the CBG? They have to come to the CBG circuit to get, and CBG need not have any blending. It is direct CNG. It is bio CNG, my friends. So I don't need this blending business that Brazil has done. We don't want this blending business. Blending will be only useful for aviation turbine fuel, where 22% blending can be done. But we are not going to encourage blending business in the internal combustion engine. 100% combustion of biogas can be done. So we must convert our sugar waste and other agronomy waste into biofuel of the highest order, and that highest order biofuel is compressed biogas. I hope I am pretty clear here what I said, and Mr. Hardeep Puri, if he wants to know what this whole thing, the white paper is done by us for his ministry when Tarun Kapoor was the petroleum secretary. This portion. The minister has neglected this portion and they have gone to ethanol cycle. I know whom they are pleasing, I don't know. They must come forward and do only bio-CNG. And I'm happy somebody is asking me, sir, we need your experience. JNK. Yes, I will give you the result for JNK also, because today is Environment Day. See, Indus Water, 2-3 things I tell you. Indus Water Treaty is not water treaty alone. And if water treaty's problem is there, we will sort it out as water. But who is stopping us from picking the electricity from the water which is flowing? Energy is anyway flowing. So please, for God's sake, in Jammu and Kashmir, we must focus on power generation from run of the river. Small, big, we should focus. Power has nothing to do with water. Jo pani beh raha hai, whatever is going, we have to convert it into energy. That is the kinetic energy of the water has to use for electricity. Another thing, Jammu and Kashmir can really do solar in a decentralized way. Suppose, how many villages are there in Jammu and Kashmir? In Jammu and Kashmir, there will be massive number of villages. Each village, if you just take 10 acre of land, only 10 acre, you produce 2 megawatt. So if you produce something like, let's say 1,000 villages, let's say, example. So you produce 2 megawatt, you already have 2,000 megawatt, means 2 gigawatt. So both hydro and solar can be combined in the grid in this place. So that, and please, for God's sake, don't invite battery. Make pump storage. You can also make massive pump storages in this. And pump storage, we don't need to make big projects. We can decentralize the pump storage. All the 3 areas are known to us. And I'm telling you, I'm promising you, not only this, if J&K feels that investment is the problem, I'm telling you, we will stand with J&K also for investment. Any state of India, I will stand for investment for the states. Federal financial autonomy, we will stand for it. So I think it is not only the work of the center. I'm sitting in Kerala when I'm speaking to Trivandrum. And just some time later, I will be meeting the finance corporation here. So I'm telling them that money is not the problem. You please come out fairly. You don't need to beg in front of the World Bank and IMF. I can give you, I can get you landed debt ECB at 2.2%. If it's approachable to the big daddies of India, it's also approachable to state governments, to private sector, but you need to have consortium. You cannot work like small companies going for, mere ko 1 million chahiye, mere ko 5. You know, you must come to 100 million, 200 million worth of work. Then these funds will come into India. Yeah. And these are all American funds. We can beat the Chinese black and blue, I can tell you. I'm announcing this in front today. I was, Goenka Sahab has called me many times, but I'm holding on to $1 trillion capability. Somebody has to come and tell us this is a problem and come out with your SDG reports, because nobody has got an SDG audit. The ESG audits are all humbug. Nothing is there. I've seen the big companies. I don't want to name them. The ESG audits are just pathetic, I tell you. And many people are training into BRSR and all that. So days are gone. We need to align every business to the 17 SDG goals. The only UN goals I've appreciated is the 17. And I'm happy that UNCTAD is the body which sounded off last year that we are not investing enough in this area for environmental sustainability and for renewability, which I talk about. They talk sustainability, I'm talking renewability. I want every business to go renewable. But that does not mean that you only use renewable energy, but you don't put, no pollution is put in the water, no pollution in the design phase, no pollution to water, no pollution to earth, no pollution to land. If you can design your system, you make a housing society, you design, I will not put anything into the 3. I tell you, you have converted half of the problem, 80% problem sorted out of the country and the world. We are not doing this. What we are doing is we will handle it later. First, we'll create the problem, we'll handle it later. This has been our way of dealing with things, ad hocism. Abhi business, we'll do incremental business. About 10% GDP, 6%. Why you need incremental? Why can't you talk about complete inorganic explosion of the GDP? The explosion will happen if you empower your common man, not by empowering a few businesses. So this is the environment issue. Environment issue is coming up because we see what we did during COVID. That COVID was a humbug. I call it one of the frauds of the world. It was a therapeutic injections. They were not even vaccines. They were promoted and they were put on people from emergency use authorization. We made full authorization. We put 100% into people. I did not take any of these 2 Indian vaccines. I took the Sputnik Russian. Look at the fun. The assets that are useful to us, even in Sindoor, was the same Russian assets, S-400. So that aside, we took a very calculated decision. Things which are good, we should take. I can tell you that today, we have to go back and not do even the vaccines and all business which the West wants to do is incorrect. We have to go back to recombinant tech. We should not allow genetically modified organisms and genetically modified crops to come into the system. The moment you use GMC, there is no biogas. Business is over, madam and sirs. Business is over. Aapne ek baar organic hata diya, to aap phir bheek mangiye. Then you are done. So we have to go away from GMOs, GMCs. We have to promote organic farming. I'm very happy to state today on Environment Day, all the country should give a special award to Sikkim for doing what they have done. They made a complete inorganic state. How many states will go inorganic? I'm happy with my Maharashtra. We had that BT brinjal and BT cotton. People are suffering. I received calls from the cotton region. We were the cotton hub of Asia. The Buldana, I call it a mini Bhutan of India. How many of you visited Buldana? It's a beautiful place. It's in altitude. Lonar Crater is nearby. But they are all now old people's town because their children are leaving everybody. But it's a good place, beautiful place. But nobody wants to stay there. Do we want to create ghost towns? Ghost cities? We are talking of smart cities. Where are the 100 smart cities? Nobody is discussing. There are no smart cities. There are only smart cities in India. On this day, I'm feeling very ashamed that whatever we call Swachh and all that, there's no Swachhta. We are creating more disease. Go and see tons and tons of waste not being processed by the municipal corporation. First of all, in country, there must be a law today. I'm sorry, I'm speaking passionately today of India from the center. Municipalities should not receive a single penny if they don't develop things for the public. What are these municipalities? They are into acute corruption. They are making over and over again same gutters they will make, same patching they will do, same stuff. What is the use? And the tons and tons of waste. We are probably, Mumbai is considered to be clean and all that. But you see, we are waste movers. We are smart waste movers. We are moving mountains of waste one place to another, and we are waiting for a major tsunami so that all this waste comes into and stashes itself into our houses, and we all leave Mumbai. Over. Game is over immediately. So we are not treating our waste. All this should be converted to waste to biogas and to CBG. That should be the business.
Okay,
and it's a
yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Let me now
Actually,
quickly.
I have, Professor Iyer has mentioned a lot of points and very interesting ones. A lot of questions for him, but in the interest of time, I have just one interjection on Indo-Water Treaty. Indus Water Treaty.
Right.
In 1977, I was working in Salal Hydroelectric Project, where we are developing a dam and electric project.
It's the most favorite project of mine.
Yeah, and same year,
my Guru Yogendra Prasad brought the project up early days.
So what happened was there was a delegation from Pakistan which came there, and in the name of the same treaty, they got the height of the dam reduced by about 10 meters. And I was shocked. Our people agreed immediately. The reason was the Indus Water Treaty. And that resulted in reduction of the hydel power which was generated from there. That's number one. I am from Kashmir. There is a place, there was a project called Tulbul Project. Pakistan again used their, their influence because of this treaty and said that this is not going to work. And they sent terrorists to blow up the infrastructure that was created there. So don't tell me that Indus Water Treaty suspension was not needed. It was needed because Kashmir has suffered the most because of this treaty.
Yeah, I agree. I lost you in between because my video went away. But I want to say I'm only talking about, I'm writing already, making a representation next week. And that representation is going to the right people, saying that we actually exploit all the electricity part of it. We don't work on the water part, can be worked out by Central Water Commission and others. But
even about the water part, there is a challenge. Haryana and Punjab fight every day on water. And we are sending the water to Pakistan. 80% of water goes to Pakistan. What sort of a treaty is this? I mean, it's a very unfair treaty. I don't know how it was
Sir,
done.
I will tell you something, sir. I have been working for Bhutan. I've been working on these water issues for a lot. And I can tell you there is no need to even agree to this treaty. Who are the people who are agreeing? See, what is the need for India? And, last few weeks, I think the Chinese gave us some kind of a weird threat that they will stall the Brahmaputra water. I can tell you in the next Janma also, the Chinese cannot stop the Brahmaputra water. If people do not know the subject they are talking, if anybody is listening,
they can only stop one tributary of that. That's all.
Yeah.
So let them do.
Okay. Now, I understand. We'll carry on this. There has to be a trade-off between, as I said, development and environment. Similarly, there has to be a trade-off politically vis-a-vis, harnessing of the local resources. Because as of now, what Mr. Vimal Vaklu is trying to say is from the political aspect, whereas what Professor Iyer is telling is what I initially remarked when he started about.
No, I did not talk about the political. I was talking about the actual facts.
Yes.
Kashmir has suffered because of this treaty. Kashmir, even Jammu Kashmir on the whole, the power reduction at Salal, it was a disgrace for the country.
Even the solar aspect, Gujarat, we all understand, has the highest solar radiation. It is probably the sunniest place, Kutch region. Similarly, Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh are also no far behind. But at the same time, we have hardly seen any development from the solar aspect also. So yes, those issues are major issues. So the solutions are with a lady called Khairunisa. She is the lady who took time out on a special request today. She is the daughter of Niyaz Shah Sahab, who is a hotelier in Gulmarg and who is a very well-known personality in the Jammu and Kashmir region, being the president of FTII. And Khairunisa has also worked with the World Trade Center. You initially in your opening remarks had talked about when I had tried to, lay the foundation of your talk about Kashmir being very important today, especially after the incident on the 20th of April, just a couple of months back. And that is what today India has to be very careful about in the global image perspective. Kashmir has had a lot of issues from sustainability perspective. There has been a huge ecological degradation. Even the Dal Lake has not been spared. Even in September, May, I told you about my personal experience sweating it out in the middle of Dal Lake, which has been left to almost 1/3 in the last 25 years. There have been stories about environmental degradation, urbanization, and then there are issues about terrorism, which has had an impact on the development aspect. Apple orchards, for example, in the name of development, are being, criticized against the state, against the government, having lost the employability of almost 30,000 families. But IRCTC, on the other hand, says that we've compensated people more than the land rates, double the land rates that were prevalent during the last few years. Karunisa, there are many such issues. Take us through Kashmir, the problems of development, and in the next 10 years, what could be done to at least set the ball rolling in terms of what has already been laid as a foundation after the abrogation of the Article 370, etc. So over to you, Madam Karunisa.
Thank you. I mean, after listening to Professor Iyer, he made very, very pertinent points and very relevant points, because one of the most important thing which is a problem that we are facing in the country is that we are not optimizing and maximizing our resources. I mean, that is one of the most important aspects that we need to be considering. So today on the World Environment Day, I want to not only raise awareness, but I also want to raise alarm, with perspective to Kashmir. Around the world, the climate change is framed as an environmental issue. But for Kashmiris, it is an existential one. When we are talking about energy, we see energy injustice to water scarcity, from collapsing infrastructure to failing health systems. And Kashmir is where the climate crisis is not only abstract, it is immediate, it is irreversible unless we act now. I will start with some facts, some truths, like I spoke about energy injustice. So we are a region which produces power, but we Kashmiris live in darkness. We have 10 to 12 hours of power shortage. I mean, we don't have electricity. We produce 3,500 megawatts, but have the potential of 20,000 megawatts. While when India has pledged by 2030 to have 500 gigawatts. So it's an unharnessed, untapped hydro potential being left. We are selling our power at, even this 3,500 megawatt power, we're selling it at 2 rupees and buying it back at 4x the cost. So that's why I said that there's an energy injustice. When we are looking at transportation collapse, we are seeing that our lifelines, even though rail has come in now, but it's largely still limited. Our roads still collapse when there is, there is heavy rains. We saw that recently. Our remote areas are still not connected. Water mismanagement is when glaciers feed no rivers and springs vanish. 2,000 springs I had mentioned earlier in my opening remark have actually become extinct. They've been blocked. As India, we commit to net zero by 2070, even though Professor Iyer said that he does not believe in 2070, but yet that's a goal that we have to work for. Our glaciers are facing extension by 2035. The waste pollution grows unchecked while ecological protection are dismantled. Our lakes are dredged. There's a sand mafia, which is going unhindered. The sand and the silt from our rivers are taken away. I mean, there's so much of pollution. SMC, I think that's something that there's no reuse, there's no recycling reusing and recycling of any of the waste management being done. So when it comes to buildings and infrastructure, we are talking about the UCC laws. The Jammu terrain is different from the Srinagar terrain. And yet we are talking about a united bylaws, which is like very impossible. And considering the climates are also different. I'm just talking about Jammu and Kashmir. Even though we are the same region, but the climates are different. Our terrains are different. So our buildings and infrastructure are also crumbling. I mean, because our bylaws are very, very impractical. Our agriculture, the heartbeat of our heritage, is disappearing, along with our heritage crops. Our healthcare and education system are strained. We do not have health management. We do not have, proper waste management, even in the healthcare. They are overwhelmed. there's disease, there are climate-triggered diseases. We are overwhelmed by them. There's displacement and there is despair. So I begin with an urgency, and I had said it in my opening remark also, that Kashmir is the world's first potential climate conflict casualty. Because for us, sustainability is not just about development, it is about survival. So there's an environmental genocide in numbers, and that's the alarm that I want to raise. When our glaciers, which are our water banks, which are our nuclear sheets, because we are living under the threat of the nuclear, considering we share the borders with 3 nuclear powers, India, China, and Pakistan. So it's the most militarized zone in the world on Earth. So 87% of our glaciers are retreating. The Kolhai Glacier is lost. 23% of its mast has been lost in 30 years. And this is a report from ISRO. So this is a red flag that our nature's coolant system is failing. Our rivers, which are our lifelines, like the Jhelum winter, during the winter, the flow down is down. The flow is down by 40%. 60% of our springs have dried up. These springs are the veins of Kashmir. Dal Lake, you also had mentioned that our Dal Lake is shrinking. From 22 square kilometer in 1980, it has come down to 10 square kilometer today. So our biodiversity, Kashmir has, we have farmed in the Himalayas for past 5,000 years. Our traditional rice varieties are not just heritage crops. They are radiation-resistant seeds as well. And they are the ones which will help us survive in times to come. Our farmers are abandoning land. Our artisans are jobless. Our endangered Hangur deer population is below 200. Saffron production is down by 85%. Apple yields are dropping by 30%. Our living fossils are disappearing. And this is not just a local failure. It's a global moral crisis. We're losing not just our livelihoods, but also the dignity. So it's not just about climate. It's about civilization. When glaciers die in Kashmir, it doesn't just raise the sea levels. It lowers our chance of surviving even a nuclear winter. Our crops, vanishing crops, the Kashmiri red rice, 93% decline. 30,000 hectares has come down to 2,000 hectares. Mushkabuddij, which is a fragrant rice, is 95% is lost. 10,000 hectares has come down to 500 hectares. Golden apple, which is called ambri in the local terminology, is only 5% orchards remain. Saffron, from 16 metric tons, the production has come down to 2.5 metric tons. So these are not just crops. These are our heritage. These are our agro-heritage. And, and if we continue, we will see that, there's going to be a collapse, an economic collapse, which is going to be coming soon. Our apple industry, which was at 10,000 crores, 70% wastage is. I had already pointed out that our power injustice, we are buying back our power, selling it at 2 and buying it back at 8 rupees. Our employment crisis is higher. Our youth migration is up by 15%. So our carpet weaving, which was once employing 2 lakh artisans, is now supporting only 1/3. So there's a market collapse and a raw material shortage. Our walnut and almond farmers face 50% losses due to erratic seasons and pests. Gujar and Bakarwas pastoralists, guardians of the Himalayan grazing routes, are now climate refugees in their own land. They've been displaced by forest degradation, conflict, and warming highlands. Since the abrogation of Article 370, the conversion of the Jammu and Kashmir into a union territory, our livelihoods and job opportunities have also come down. We become top and bottom heavy, as far as the pyramid is concerned. So, and increasingly, these top and bottom are actually increasingly being taken by non-locals, non-Kashmiris. So, in our terminology, in the local terminology, we consider them outsiders. We do not consider them as Kashmiris. So this has pushed our local youth further to the margins. So what is important is to realize that, if every lost glacier means reduced capacity to survive. Every dried spring is equivalent to less water to survive a potential fallout. Every extinct crop is equivalent to lost knowledge for post-crisis survival. Our red rice, our mushkabudaj, our ambry apples, they're not just crops. They feed millions. And in spite of all of this, there's a twist. We believe we can lead. We can become the world's first war-resilient green economy. We can become a green economy. We're not just a victim. We can be a model for global climate conflict resilience. And the pivotal role is that we can become we stand ready to be a renewable powerhouse. Professor Iyer also pointed out that there's a synergy and there's a good combination of the sun and the water, which we are abundantly blessed in Kashmir. We currently produce 3,500 megawatts hydroelectricity and have 300 plus sunny days annually. Our carbon sink is our forests can sequester 50 metric tons carbon dioxide with proper investment. Our climate smart agriculture hub, we can become a climate smart agriculture hub that is a home to even radiation resistant heritage crops, which is critical for even food security. The reason why I'm actually saying radiation, because we are surrounded by nuclear powers. And Operation Sindoor did showcase to us that we can have a nuclear war at any time. We are under that threat. So our energy independence is very important for our survival. It is very imperative for our survival. We need to build solar, hydro, microgrids, decentralized power that can't be weaponized, a community-owned, underground cold storage, protect our food reserves from multiple threats. Climate conflict preparedness is required. Our glacier protection brigades, our local youth can be employed as ecological guardians. A youth-led glacier brigades can monitor and conserve these assets. Seed vaults preserve heritage crops in radiation-proof facilities and for preserving global crop diversity. Spring revivals so that we can ensure water security for millions against all scenarios. Our houseboats, they're living proof of sustainability. When I look at the Professor Iyer also pointed out that COP29 was a failure, but it was a failure for other reasons that he pointed out. But I do believe that there's a lot of hypocrisy. In India, pledged in COP29, it pledged 500 megawatts renewable energy. Kashmir's reality is that we can produce 20,000 megawatts hydro potential. And what is happening? There's a criminal negligence. There's a negligence of actually tapping this potential. We're talking about a net zero by 2070. Our glaciers will be gone by 2035. So again, this is pointing out to a 35-year leadership failure. A climate delay is equivalent to an existential threat. Our food security for all, that is the zero hunger, which is our goal, is actually what is happening. Our heritage crops are becoming extinct by 2030. So this is a policy paralysis, a broken food promises. So there are various case studies of failed policies, like the delayed cold storage infrastructure, which is causing massive apple wastage, lack of water conservation, which has led to our springs drying up, neglected glacier monitoring, despite the alarming, retreat rates. So we don't need sympathy. We need systems. We need policies which actually help implement those policies. So what are we asking for? We revive 10,000 dead springs by 2030, by 2027, satellite monitored glacier protection, create equity in energy through solar microgrids for every village. Then there is lithium. In Rais, we saw that there was a discovery of lithium. So what we need to ban raw lithium exports, mandate local refining. 25% of the royalty of this lithium mining should go to the panchayats for green jobs. We need to create global seed vault for red rice and mushkubudaj and amber. We need to create a heritage crop revival fund. This is very important. We could look at somewhere around 2,000 to 3,000 crores heritage crop revival fund. We declare Kashmir as a UN recognized green economy region. Create direct funding to local bodies so that we bypass the bureaucratic theft. It's very important that if we do not do all of these things, by 2027, we see a lithium war erupting. We see our heritage agriculture collapsing by 2035. By 2040, Dal Lake would be extinct. And if we act now, we become India's renewable powerhouse. We become a global resilient and a sustainability model for the region. And we also need to understand that this is not a Kashmir problem. It's a world's problem. And it is very important that, considering that Kashmir is very important for India, for the country, we need to be creating this as a model. I mean, you yourself said that Kashmir was in news for all the wrong reasons. So we need to make the right reasons. And the right reasons could be also creating it a green economy and helping it become a sustainable and, as Professor Iyer mentioned, a renewalistic economy. So it's very important that we become the first nuclear climate prepared zone and international heritage crop sanctuary with a heritage seed vault site, a global model for resilient recovery and ecological defense. We are not just losing glaciers or forests and crops. We're losing 5,000-year-old civilization. And this is what I am actually very concerned about. This is not a political plea. We can let Kashmir die slowly, quietly, tragically. But let Kashmir not be a graveyard for broken promises, but a birthplace of global sustainability. And this is what we need to be working upon. That Kashmir this is not just about Kashmir. This is about India. This is about us. And this is where we need to actually tell the world that this is what we have done for Kashmir. This is what we are doing in Kashmir. We're maximizing and optimizing. And that is the need of the hour. This is the time to act, or otherwise we are just mourning. Thank you.
Okay, good, that you spoke about so many facets about Kashmir, its topography, its resources, etc. Just before I, bring our closing speaker, valedictory speaker, Arun Sinha, the former secretary.
I had some point here.
Yeah.
I mean, as you rightly pointed out, Kashmir has a history of more than 5,000 years of human culture and civilization, and that is why it's important for India, because most of the, I would say, what is a part of Indian ethos has come from Kashmir.
Yes.
That's why it's very important. That's one point. But, you mentioned about this, energy injustice. Here I have a little problem. Because I lived in Kashmir. The biggest challenge that we face there is that the people who genuinely pay their bills are penalized. And, lot of free electricity flows. That's a big problem. And recently, last year, even the smart meters were damaged and got damaged through some people. Because if you have smart meters, it'll be a fair distribution of electricity and everybody pays for what he uses, then I'm sure whatever Kashmir produces will be sufficient for its own use. There will be no need to import power after that. I agree the concept of grid, but if you are selling power, you can always negotiate that I'll sell power and buy power at the same rate. And when I have surplus power, I give you power at the same rate. And when I buy, it'll be at the same rate. Such agreements are in vogue. So I think this is one fundamental issue where young people in Kashmir can start a campaign that there'll be no household without any smart meter. I think that will solve that problem.
Can I? This was some years ago when the transition from the old meter to the smart meter was happening. That's when the transition, that chaos was there. Not now. So even now, when I'm talking about this problem, I'm talking about that we have the smart meter. I'm talking about my personal experience. And I'm seeing that there are 10 hours. We get a roster. Every week, every month, we get a roster that which are the days we will have, what are the timings that we would have. We're talking about modern India. It's not about that smart city. We will blame the other. We have a small village next to our affluent colony, and we keep on blaming them कि इनकी वजह से शायद नहीं हो रहा है. But that is not the truth. See, we're just putting the blame on others. The fact remains that this is there. Secondly, you pointed out that our agreement, when we are selling it, that can be, we can, unfortunately, our leaders have failed there. That's where our leaders have failed in negotiating those agreements such that, when we are selling at 2 rupees and 4 times more at the cost we are buying. But when I always keep on saying, and I always tell people, I love what they speak when you're in a flight, the first thing that they say is, पहले मास्क खुद को लगाओ, फिर उसके बाद दूसरे को लगाओ. So जब हमारे को इलेक्ट्रिसिटी होगी, जब सरप्लस होगा, तभी हमको बेचना चाहिए. जब सरप्लस नहीं है, तो बेचने का क्या फायदा? So
the thing is what I meant to say during the peak period, because all the time you will not be utilizing that power.
So it's summer and winter, throughout we have this power, 10 hours.
I just mentioned that generally the peak period for electricity consumption is in the evenings because the whole domestic sector comes into play, and the number of industries in Kashmir is not so large, so that the consumption is at in the evening time. But during the daytime, it may not be so high, so you can sell your power during the daytime so that you earn revenue out of it. And in the evening, you benefit out of it.
I'll tell you there is an interesting area which probably Merunusa will consider. See, my neighboring very good friends, since 2008, I am going to Bhutan. And I tell you, I wrote that book called Bhutan Branded, which is a landmark book like my book, India Branded. It's only they have come up because 22% of the revenue in the GDP of Bhutan goes from hydropower purchases by India. And it's exactly the model that probably we are talking about when there is very little load, because Bhutan does not have too many industries. It's going to come up now. In fact, they are the top 5 countries now mining Bitcoin. Very few people know about what Bhutan has done. And the Singapore entity, which is actually mining Bitcoin there, using hydropower. So I think Jammu and Kashmir wants any idea. I can tell you I am here. My numbers are here. Please let me know. Let's be a little broader, because you as a small state can't consume as much energy as much you can deliver to the. No, you said 20 gigawatt. I can assure you that I'll show you by calculation that the Indus Water Treaty, leave the treaty, use the Indus Water as an idea. Treaty will come later, that the government issue. Indus Water has energy worth, I can tell you, it's not 20,000. It's 1 lakh megawatt we are talking. So be careful. I have told my government that you have not done surveys since, eternal years. The last geological proper survey of the water system in Arunachal Pradesh is more than 20 years old. And I can tell you that if we do a proper survey now, we will get 150 gigawatt of potential in Arunachal itself. And that's the reason Chinese are eyeing that, because they use the water of Tibet to produce huge quantum of hydroelectricity there. And be careful, because the war may not be at Brahmaputra. The war may end up at some other place. It's Arunachal, So my government also should wake up now, because I think everywhere we keep everything down. But I said, forget the military part, that can be discussed. But the hydro potential, the pump storage potential in India is just phenomenal. And as much phenomenal as much the Chinese have it. The Chinese are half of the China, not capable of producing anything. And yet they are building. Their capacity is 3.4 terawatt. That means 3,400 gigawatt is what they have. To our 462 gigawatt. And we cannot operate our grid beyond 270 gigawatt. Technically not feasible. if I think other people understand what I'm saying. Some people understand, because if you don't, no base load to ramp up the peak. The peaks will not operate on their own. The peaks need the base load, and that base load is basically thermal, thermal, wind, solar, and this is the base load that you have. The peaking will come because we have 20 gigawatt of gas power plants lying still, starving for want of gas, my friends. So therefore, the 20 gigawatt of gas power plant starving has to be powered with beg, borrow, still bring the gas and feed it into the power plants. I tell you, that is a national waste and a harakiri.
Okay, Iyer Saab, because you've been with Bhutan for as an advisor to the PM, Amochu, you understand what Amochu is more than anybody else.
I see. Amochu is the river where I have, tried up the land for making the World Institute for Renewable Energy now. That's the news story.
Bhutan, the river is known as Torsa River in India. And we've not been able to harness the potential even in West Bengal, where it's entering. But in Bhutan, they have started, working towards hydropower electricity. How successful have they been?
See, I'll tell you, Bhutan is now having the new plan of delivering some 25 gigawatt in over the 10 to 12 years. And that all is going in a PPP mode, public-private participation. Because there will be no more grants from the government of India, because the grant era is over. The era now is PPP era. So you will see Tatas have gone in, even Adanis have gone in with 5,000 megawatt signing off, and Reliance went for a 500 megawatt solar. And we are telling the Bhutanese that you don't have to worry. We're ready to open a line of credit of $60 billion from our fund if Bhutanese are serious about it. So I'm very clear that we don't want Bhutan to end up into the Chinese hands. Very, very much. I have a personal issue over there. It's a country that I love. It's like for me, going to Bhutan is as much as being in India, and those people respect me. And I would do anything to make Bhutan a very powerful nation and great. It's like we talk about elder brother. We are elder brothers. We are not big brothers. There's only one big brother. I don't want to name them in the world. We are elder brothers. We love to see our younger brothers succeed. So our own place like Jammu and Kashmir, anytime they need me, please let me know. You need people like us. We are sitting here in India.
I will definitely be in touch with you. I've made note. I'll send you my WhatsApp message. And I would actually like to understand more, maybe organize meeting with the CM here. But आपको इतना भी मैं बताऊं, हमारे मतलब there's a slip between a cup and a lip here. यहाँ पे the intent of our this is a public forum, so I don't want to go into much detail.
I know.
But the intent should, I mean, as a daughter of the soil, whatever is possible in a private capacity to be done, I will want to do that. Like you did talk about that there are funds and there are, a lot of, which can be done in a PPP model. I myself, that network, I would love to work with you to actually create Kashmir a renewable economy. Like you said, the renewability economy. This is actually a fantastic aspect.
That's a game.
Yes.
Okay, guys, I have to close this show. Arun Sinha ji, sir, thank you for waiting, because as you have been a close family friend and you have been gracious enough to stretch yourself for more than an hour now. Closing remarks, Sinha sahab, your perspective on environment. This is Environment Day Summit. Environment and the link between environment, labor, because today India is being run by the gig economy. The kind of impact it has on this economy, the gig workers, and then we also have the public sector which you handled. Could you throw some light, especially on the labor aspect and its relevance and ramifications on the environment of the nation? We keep hearing about, just a couple of days back, there was another huge incident at the Bokaro steel plant.
Yes. So after such a nice interaction, especially from Professor Iyer and Carol Nisha ji, Vaklu ji, I think my day is met. And that way, what I wanted to talk about this central public sector enterprises, I think Mr. Amarjit Chaudhary Sahab, he gave a good overview, and it doesn't require repetition on that. But yeah, as the discussion came out, that basically this sustainable change requires aligning policies, industries, and human capital towards a shared goal. We should all be on the same page so that we work with each other and take the nation to the desired goal. And as we know that labor, the worker is the most important part of that, because whether it is agriculture or manufacturing or services, it is the person behind these sectors, they matter. And in labor department, basically the skill development, these are important aspects, and they are linked with the environmental goals also. And as earlier speaker also talked about green jobs and skill development, Professor Iyer told us about the renewable power thing. So all this require person who can put this into practice. So for that, naturally, we require skilled workers in the renewable energy, waste management, and so these things has to be done, and that will lead us to the desired place. And also like eco-friendly construction and techniques everywhere. Like a very good word I today came in the discussion, green hospital. The first time I've heard about the green hospital. So this green, not only in concept, in practice, has to come in all fields, wherever it is required. That will help us in making sustainable and environmental friendly country.
Lloyd's company Metals has also got a certification for it, the first green mine in the country now.
Yeah. So that is good. I mean, people are conscious, sensitive, and then it should be done in a way that really helps. So it should not be only a branding or a marketing thing. It should be real. In real sense, it should be there.
Then can a mine be green? Anyways, please continue. Please continue.
Yeah. I know you are always sarcastic and see both sides, because life is not so simple. And as you always share your views, when you go to the field, when you are on the ground and you see the reality, then yeah, what we discuss here, generally many of those things we do not take into account. But that is hard reality, and we have to also keep them in our background. So then the workplace safety and environmental standards, that is also important for labor, and factories and industries, they have to adopt cleaner technologies so that these things are there. And waste disposal, again, like in hospital, everywhere we are talking, but so waste disposal norms, that has to be used as far as possible. And the last point was about this gig worker. You were mentioning, Amitji. If you see in the informal sector, a lot of people are there. And in all, especially in urban areas, you can find waste pickers and recyclers. So they are also very important parameter which can be used, put to better use, so that sustainability and environmental things can be also done, and their life is also improved, because they are at the lowest rung of the society and nobody cares about them. But they are doing the sustainability and environmental things indirectly. So how to do these things, they are important, and that should be discussed and carried forward. So these are a few points which I wanted to mention, and we had a very nice discussion today. We are having many things to ponder, to work further and work on them. So thank you, Amitji, for giving me the opportunity.
Sir, I'll just end the show on this note to thank everybody who spent so much time, which I didn't expect to, people to stay back for such a long time. Thank you so much. The views were very, very, very succinct. and very, very straightforward. Lot of strategic views, lot of data shared by Karunnisa, a lot of internal, Kashmir related issues also came to the forefront in terms of the energy crisis, etc. End of the day, it is all about, individuals, and India is a very populated country and it's a democracy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.